Hi, hello. Welcome back to my witch obsession. If you're seeing this will be your horoscope for all 12 zodiac signs from July 7th through July 13th. As always, timestamps are in the description box below, and if you'd like to consult me for a personal reading, my Etsy shop and my email will be down below, which is how you can reach out to me. And that's it. Timestamps in the description box. Timestamps. And I would prioritize your rising and then your sun and moon. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. See you at your horoscope. Thank you. I love you. Anyways, y'all, I've had a really weird week, and can I be honest? I didn't really like it. I had a difficult week. So I have a little story time for you, and this is actually what I want to start out with. So I went to the bar, and I don't know if I actually got pickpocketed or someone actually took them or if I just got lost, but someone took my keys, okay? Like my keys went missing, my car keys, my apartment keys, my work keys, and like someone they just disappeared. And this guy, I feel like it was the people I was talking to for some reason. It really be the people you think you can trust. That's all I have to say. But yeah, that was just this was the 3rd. So the night of the 3rd was when this happened. And literally, it's 2 in the morning, and I'm looking for my keys, and I left my info at the establishment, and I was like, hey, if you find these, can you please let me know? And they were like, oh yeah. And then I called my friends because I'm in another city, 30 minutes away from home. And I'm like, hey, I lost my keys, can you help me? We ended up I drove my friend's boyfriend's giant truck because she was like, he can't drive, he's way too tired and he has work tomorrow. So I drove his giant truck to 2 hours away, 1.5 hours away, to go get my roommate's keys because she left them at her parents' house and they're out of town right now. So, I could get into their house. And then I got their keys. I got her keys to the apartment. I got in, I got my spare car key, went back to my car, I got in, and that's what happened. But I didn't get to bed until 7 a.m. that day. And I've just been sulking, and I've been so paranoid these past 2 days because my keys are gone, I don't know who has the keys. I don't know if the keys are just toast now, in the sense, I don't know if I would rather just them be destroyed and thrown away as opposed to being in somebody's possession. But I feel because I did leave my car unattended for a while that night, and I feel if I was tangled up in some kind of criminal mastermind heist, my car would have been gone by now. If these were people who could actually track me down and they were professionals, I feel my car would have been toast by now. At least that's what I'm telling myself to console myself, because and if you're out there, you'll get what you deserve. But anyways, I have the fan on, by the way. It's really hot in here. But yeah, I just don't know what happened to them, and I felt so bad about it, and I'm too scared to tell my parents about it, even though I really should, because it's just I don't know. It made me feel really irresponsible and mad at myself. I was like, come on, because I literally left the keys dangling off my belt loop, and I was like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And I don't know, I'm just whatever, dude. I learned a very important lesson that night, I suppose, and that's what I have to say about that. I'm very angry at myself about it, but I'm kind of calming down. I'm like, okay, y'all, you're fine. But it's funny because the moon was coming into a square with Pluto that night in my 3rd house, which rules your car, and I was like, dang, dude, this sucks. But I'm at least glad I have a spare, and I think that you can get keys deactivated because I have to use my car takes smart key. So I'm like, oh, I think I can just get that key deactivated and forget it from the system. So, and then I can just get a replacement key fob, to always have another spare and whatnot, get my keys duplicated, whatever. So that's what happened with that. And I low-key don't want to take too much time on that, but that's what happened. Anyways, another thing I wanted to talk about was these books again. So I've been rereading this one. This is The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. And I need to read this one after the book I'm going to show you. But this is just a romance novel. I've read this one before. I literally tore it apart. I just started it and I can't wait to just reread it, and I love them. But I finished The Wedding Date the other day, and then I also finished this book. So I was kind of talking about this book in my last horoscope. This is Liars by Sarah Manguso. Y'all, this book was a lot. This book was, by the way, if you don't want, actually I won't give spoilers, but needless to say, this is a very intense book. The author is a Scorpio moon of an Aquarius sun, and it shows in her language. It is like it is razor sharp language in here, and there's a lot going on. And it was like a very, like, I felt a lot of dread in the book, and there was just like a lot of twists and turns that make you question everything. But I really like this book, and it made me think a lot because the basic premise of it, or kind of like a skeleton of the book, is a jab towards like men and the patriarchy. At least there's a lot of undertones of that, and it made me feel very sad because, you know, like, as like someone who just like really cares about women, like reading a book about a woman literally being tortured through the course of a marriage is just like very excruciating. And, you know, like, as like a guy, like when I was younger, my way of thinking was like so like typical man, you know, in the sense that like I was very like, there was like a lot of misogyny and a lot of sexism in the way that I thought when I was younger. And I genuinely didn't know better because I grew up in a house full of boys and there was only one woman, which was my mother. So you can only imagine how that went. And so like over the course of my life, I get really nervous to talk about like how I feel about the subject, because I feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing sometimes, and I'm going to think the way that I think is going to be wrong sometimes, and it like makes me very anxious because like I don't want that, but at the same time, like I feel like it's just like a conversation that needs to be had, so that's why I kind of still like talk about it. But the main thing in the book, there's two main things in the book that made me think a lot. The first one was this is kind of a spoiler. The husband was just so useless, y'all. Like typical man child, where it's like he doesn't do anything. Like he just makes the money, and the wife does literally everything else. Like he doesn't even pay the bills. Like she does the paying and stuff, you know. It's like she organizes everything. And like he's really bad at managing his money, and that was just something that I was thinking about a lot, and it made me very self-conscious because I do feel like sometimes I'm very like reckless and irresponsible with my finances, but not in a way that puts me in a hot water like him, you know. Like it's not enough to where like two people are stressing over it, you know. It's just like I only have like what, like a few, like what, like 4,000 something worth of credit card debt, and like maybe to some that sounds like a lot, but like to me I'm like, okay, that's like not that bad compared to like what it could be, considering it. Anyways, I just wanted to be very transparent about that. And it just made me think a lot because I don't know, because she enabled him a lot, y'all. Like that was the thing that I don't mean to like blame her or anything, but I was just like, okay girl, like there is a certain point where it's like you have to understand that like you're just enabling him, you know. It's like this, he looks for people that enables him, and like people keep enabling him. Like he needs to face consequences, but obviously that won't happen because like we all know why that won't happen. But it just made me think a lot about that, because sometimes I do feel like I'm very irresponsible with like my money, but at the same time it's like obviously like, you know, like when I owe people money I give it to them, you know. Like when I have a bill to pay I'll pay it, and you know I've never felt like I've actually been in an irresponsible situation where I'm in trouble, you know, or I'm going to get me or another person into hotter water. So that's why I kind of like reassure myself, especially like in this economy, girl. And like I don't know, and it's just like I don't know, because I feel like I'm very like detached from money in a way, because like growing up, like there was things I wanted that wasn't money related, and then like I was always given money related things as the consolation. So I don't know, that's just like a whole other thing. But one thing that I want to say about it, that is, I got another interview at another part-time job, and it's like nothing. Like, it's just like they're gonna give me like a few hours, but I was just like, that's like better than nothing, and I feel like it allows me more time to like do YouTube and stuff. And one of the goals that I have, or intentions that I've set, especially through like Mars retrograde, was like, you know, like paying off my debt. And I've been slowly chipping away at my debt for a while now, and like and it's been like a slower process, and I've knocked it down like a little bit, you know. And so I've been like slowly doing that, you know, like slowly doing it, slowly but surely. It was like a lot worse, and I've been working on it, and I really like this because I feel like it teaches me like discipline, and I feel like it teaches me like, you know, like when I slowly pay it off, like it gets paid off and I keep it that way. But like when I just get a bunch of money to pay it off at one time, like I'm gonna be at the same spot that I was at one day, you know. Like, I've been lent money to completely pay off my card, and it just goes right back up. Whereas like I've been slowly paying it off in chunks, and I've been keeping it off, you know. It's like when people like do weight surgery and then the weight comes back, versus like when you slowly like gruelingly burn it off and then you keep it off, you know. That, I don't know, that's just what I've been thinking about that. And sometimes I get a little bit touchy about these conversations, because like, you know, like what if like not everyone agrees with me, or like, you know, like I know like if someone else mentions this, like people are suddenly in the comments being like financial experts. But I feel like you guys are very understanding with me, or at least I feel like you guys like know that I'm not like an idiot that does things mindlessly without caring for myself or the people around me. It's a learning experience for me too, okay? But maybe I shouldn't have mentioned this before I show y'all all the stuff I bought this week, because I bought a lot of stuff, y'all. I bought a lot of stuff, okay? So don't get mad at me. Anyways, it was all reasonably within like my pay, okay? Like the bills are paid. So I got more stuff off road, I bought more skincare, and I bought some clothes. So I want to start with the road stuff. Oh, by the way, I want to show y'all what I've been carrying around on me. I've been carrying these bracelets on me, and I've had them for a while. I don't know what this one is. I think this is either black obsidian or a very, very dark tiger's eye. This is amethyst and rose quartz. I used to wear these every single day, and ever since I started carrying them on me again, mind you, the night that my car keys got stolen, I didn't have these on me. What can I say, you know? So I've been carrying these around with me, and I do feel like they make a difference. Maybe it's just like placebo, but whatever. So yeah, I got more stuff from Rode, and as always, the experience was very nice. They sent me another lip balm, another peptide lip treatment, which I was really shocked by. I was like, I wasn't expecting them to send me another one, because they sent me one last time. But yeah, the packaging, the experience was very nice. I appreciated that. And the packaging is really good. Just for some skincare, I'm like... Anyways, I got this. I got the glazing mist. I needed a mist because I ran out of the one that I have from Caudalie. I just used that grape water one because it's like cheap and it does whatever. But I figured to get the free shipping, because I originally wanted this, because I wanted to try this, and I was like, oh, like I'll just buy something else to get free shipping, because it's like I would rather, because like I wanted both of these anyways. So I got this, and I like it so far. The pump is very nice. Like when you it's not like hard to press down. Do you know what I mean? It's very like I don't know. I don't want to use it because it's gonna be like a few cents coming out the bottle, but I wanted this one. So this is the barrier butter, and I wanted this because I wanted like a very thick moisturizer that will hydrate me over the night, because all of the creams I find are always very lightweight, and I like those for during the day because, you know, I'm out in the sun, I'm moving about, I'm sweating. So I want something that isn't so thick. But during the night, I need to rub like Vaseline on my face, y'all. Like I need to put on Aquaphor. Like, to put this into perspective, the cream that I usually use, I exfoliated last night, and like I broke out a little bit, and so like my skin was really dry and like irritated, and I'm like, girl, like I need something thick. And then this, I'm not mad because this week was a lot. Like I broke out because of that one night, and I'm not mad at myself. I'm like, girl, that was a lot, and I'm very proud of myself for dealing with that and having a solution lined up, and also being around people who cared enough to support me through that. So I'm like very grateful. Anyways, I also went to Sephora. They were doing a sale on these moisturizers, so I bought another moisturizer because in my brain, I was like, okay, I'd rather buy a moisturizer now while they're cheaper and I get that 20% discount, and then I'll be set until the Sephora sale in the fall, probably, hopefully. And because I'm only planning to use this at night and then use something like this during the day. So I got this. This is the Then I Met You. She calls it the Bong Bong Bounce Cream, which I thought is kind of like a kooky name. I thought that was cute. But I just I use this, and then I wanted to try this. And then I also use the Youth to the People one that has like vitamin C and like hyaluronic acid in it. This one has vitamin C. So I was just like, okay, like now that I have this, like I'll be set until the Sephora sale in the fall, and I will like not have to like buy so many moisturizers. So I was thinking, and because 20% is a lot. And then I also got this. This is the Fenty Skin Lip Oil. This is Dragon Fruit. The reason I got this is because my friend, before she went to Mexico, she wanted to get this shade because this is her favorite one, but they didn't have any. And they didn't have one as like a sample either, like the Try Me's. And then she, is it called a Try Me? Is it called it's a sample, right? Whatever. And they didn't have it, so we were really afraid that would discontinue, but I saw these. And I don't know if they're discontinued and they're just like selling what they have left, but either way, I got one for her so that she'll have it when she gets back. I wanted to buy her more than one, but it's a little expensive, and also because they go bad, so I didn't want to, you know, how long do these last? Where's the, 12 months, so. And then I also got this. I left it in the car because this is where I keep my hand sanitizers, but this is my favorite scent, y'all. With the Touchlands, the blue sandalwood's the best one. The last one I had was the watermelon one, and I was like, this smells horrible. This smells like alcohol. I'd be better off just using like Germex, like it's just gross. And I hate the smell of it. I hate the smell of literally every other one except this one. I've tried the berry one, I've tried the rose water one, but the rose water one's like 14, whereas this one's 10, and I'm like, I'm not spending $4 more. Like, this is already a really overpriced hand sanitizer, please don't. And then I've also tried the rainwater one. The rainwater one's okay, but like they still have like an alcohol-y smell, so I just don't like them. Anyways, the next thing I got are some clothes. I got my Dickies in the mail. I got my black pairs. They're just a pair of regular black work-looking pants, so I'm not gonna show you guys that, so it's because like you guys know. But I got some button-ups because I've been needing more button-ups because I feel like I've been wearing like a bunch of t-shirts, and so I'm like, oh, like I want more button-ups, especially because I feel like I want to feel and look more put together, and I feel like button-ups are the way to do that. The first one I got was from Hollister. I got this one. It originally deterred me because it has this little thing on it, this embroidery, and I was just like, I don't know if that's my style. But after getting it, I wore it out once already. I really love it, and I like the cropped kind of look almost, and it's just very cute, and I feel like it's nice because it's like I'm finally not wearing blue. And I got one more thing from Hollister. I was gonna get these t-shirts that I saw there that had embroidery because they had a Tom and Jerry and a Scooby-Doo one, but I was like, girl, like, you have so many, and I don't know why, but I particularly don't like to wear embroidery that much for some reason. I don't know why. Next thing I got was this one. This is Looney Tunes. This is so summer to me. I've never worn a button-up like this where it's like, it doesn't have a collar. So I thought this was cute, and I feel like, even in the fall or like winter, I can wear this over like a sweater or like a long sleeve. So I thought that was very multi-purpose, and I feel like it's very cute. I love all the button-ups I get. And then I got one more button-up from American Eagle. Still need to wash it, but I got this. It's just striped. It's very basic. And I have a few ones, but none of them are like this one where it's like a short sleeve. They're all long sleeve, and it's just like, it's too hot for all that. So, and this one is cropped, I think. Is it? I don't know, but it says it's a relaxed fit, but I really like this. I like American Eagle sometimes, but yeah, I really like this. And the next thing I want to buy in terms of clothes is a pair of super baggy pants from Hollister, like the black ones, but I'm kind of letting these clothes marinate before I buy more. So there's that. But that's all the stuff that I bought. But I feel like I got through everything pretty quickly. But yeah, I've just been trying to like stay busy. I've been trying to just, maintain. And I feel like this book for some reason really set me back because it made me think so much. And it kind of made me have like an existential crisis, and it made me feel like really guilty, And I don't know, like, I can't imagine treating another human being so poorly. I can't imagine being in a relationship where I'm being treated so poorly. You know, like, I just, like, I don't know, because I feel like as a guy, I try my absolute best to be, like, really, like, talkative about this, and, like, you know, like, I like really care about, like, you know, like, girls. Like, literally all my friends are girls, and I try to, like, do so much for them. And I don't know, like, I feel like I do, like, want validation for that, and, like, to be, like, recognized for that sometimes, because, like, I do get insecure. I'm like, y'all, like, is this, like, appropriate? Like, am I, like, doing the right thing? And I don't know, like, I feel like that has led me to be, like, very poorly treated by some, like, people in my life. But anyways, I highly recommend this book if you want, like, a total, like, it feels like a horror. Have you guys watched Gone Girl, where that movie where that woman, that was just, like, a lot. I haven't watched the movie in a while, but Gone Girl, it's a book too, but I only watched the movie. This gives that, but in, like, a more tragic way. Anyways, that's all I have for you all today. I feel like that was a lot, but I'm gonna go eat something and then we can start on the horoscopes. But I will see you at your horoscope. Be nice to me. I love you. Okay, starting out with Sagittarius rising. So hello, Sagittarius rising. If you are seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. I have you say, Sagittarius, I feel like this is a pretty interesting week for you because we have two important things happening, and that is the Capricorn full moon and Uranus moving into Gemini on in your 7th house on the 7th. And the full moon's happening on the 10th. So I definitely feel like there is a lot of shakeups going on this week when it comes to your finances and your values and what you find to be important, but especially as they relate to creative endeavors, as they relate to business strategies and how you express yourself, how you have fun, you know, how good enough you feel to carve out time in your day for romance, for beauty, for things that you find enjoyable, especially when it comes to, like, buying things. And then with the oppositions to your 8th house, I also feel like this could be something revolving around money and your business, especially because Saturn's in a Mars world sign and Mars is still in your 10th house, which has probably been, like, a kind of a difficult transit for you. But I would imagine that there is a lot of action going on in the career department, you know, picking up more work, trying to pick up more hours, you know, trying to push more clients, trying to just, you know, put your reach out there in some way, shape, or form. The point is that you're definitely trying to focus on your career. And right now with this full moon, I feel like it kind of seems to be related to your money and the financing of it, you know, like, this makes me think of, like, oh, like, you're opening up a business, so, like, in order to do that, you need to figure out, like, the insurance policy so that, like, if something happens, you know, and things with, like, money and, you know, like, the taxes and, you know, like, your rates and what you're gonna charge. But for others of you who are obviously not doing that, this could also just be related to children. This could be revolving around your self-worth, especially if you are, like, a parent. You know, I feel like this full moon could definitely be about what you are teaching your kids, how good enough you feel to show up for them, or, you know, like, finances relating to children. But a full moon in the 2nd house, I definitely feel like a lot of Sag risings have been setting a lot of intentions and moving through a lot of awkward financial stuff over these past few months. So I kind of feel like this week you'll kind of see it reach ahead and you are setting new intentions through releasing something. So I almost wonder if you guys are paying something off, making a big investment, or just putting your money towards something that you just, like, really like, you know? But anyways, the moon will actually start out in your sign this week in your 1st house, and it will be trining planets in your 5th house, which is a really nice energy to kind of butter you up for this full moon. I feel like this is a very busy week for you, Sag. Seeing Uranus move into your 7th house and Venus also in the 7th house, but being the ruler of your 6th, I like this energy for you in the sense that I feel like your routine is going to stabilize a little bit. So, you know, if you've been feeling very, like, unstable or very shaky when it comes to your responsibilities, your animals, your work schedule, your day-to-day life, and, you know, how that carries over from week to week, and if you've been trying to keep up certain practices and rituals, but you haven't been able to because you just like can't. I feel like this will be the beginning of a time where you're able to kind of see a new routine blossom up, and consistency will be a lot easier to adhere to. And with Uranus actually aspecting your ascendant now, I feel like there will be a lot more obvious energy in your life when it comes to like innovative ideas, rebelliousness, and new concepts, because Uranus and Venus are both sort of in that trine with Pluto in your third house. So there could be like an obsessive energy or a lot of changes going on when it comes to communication, how you talk to people, but especially if you do run a client-based business. But this could also be if you are receiving a service or if you're trying to consult someone. You know, Venus rules your sixth house, so this could be like, oh, like I found a number for this local doctor or something, you know, so like you're trying to like hit them up. There's like a spontaneous energy and a wanting to explore when it comes to your routines, but also when it comes to the conversations and the ideas that you have and how they relate to other people and communities. And this makes me think of like, you know, like who are you trying to target when it comes to your audience? But for others of you, it just makes me think of like, who do I want to talk to and who is like gonna interact with me that will change my mindset. So especially at the end of the week, because the moon will move through Aquarius. So I feel like this weekend will be very pivotal for you, and this will be where you're seeing the most action happen. Like after coming out of this week, you could probably say the same thing. The week will gain momentum as it goes, but this week it'll kind of be like the climax will be in the beginning, in the middle of the week, and then you're kind of like riding down from that. Especially if you are trying to do something big like finance a car, or if you're trying to fix a car, or if it's another thing, if you're trying to change your way of thinking, or like reading books or consuming knowledge in some way, shape, or form. It's just like there's something about the consumption of knowledge and information right now, Sagittarius, that is leaving a major impact on you, especially because we have a lot of mercurial energy in the skies right now. Uranus, Venus, Mars at the south node, and Mercury is in shadow in your 9th house. Mercury is going to station retrograde in these next few weeks. So I feel like with Mercury in a house that you're familiar with, like you are kind of revitalizing something or revising something when it comes to your philosophy, your education, travel affairs. It makes me think of things that were like, it makes me think of like summer 2023, you know, where you like revising your belief system and like maybe things revolving around like the court. Especially because we have like, you know, Venus and Uranus in the 7th house, which can deal with the law. So it could be that a lot of you are practicing law, or it could be that a lot of you are taking like a liking to learning about bigger systems, which, you know, the law is just one of many examples. But for a grand majority of you, it could be really anything else, you know, like think of like a big idea, big system, whether it be like a corporation that you shop at, whether it be like a religion that you practice. It's just anything like that. It just seems like a lot of you Sagittarius risings are very curious about some regard when it comes to something that is bigger than you are. And then in the beginning of the week, the moon is moving through your sign. So I do feel like this week you're kind of going in like, you know, busy, getting things done, having to deal with stuff. But the moon will come into an opposition with Venus, and at the same time sextile Pluto in your 3rd house. So a lot of you could have like a very intense conversation with a woman, and whatever that conversation may entail, who knows, but I just kind of feel like a lot of you could have like a very serious conversational topic with another person in the beginning of the week. And especially because Venus rules your 6th house, I feel like a lot of you could be doing a lot of errands or running favors for people. So it could be that like, you know, someone's like, hey, can you watch my dog for me? Hey, can you take care of my cat for me? You could be asking other people for favors, or it could just be that a lot of you are just, you know, very busy running to the store, doing this, doing that. But Venus in the 7th house in Gemini is like a really, really fun energy. And I think that this is like a very good time to kind of like explore and like do things where you're able to learn, especially with like other people. Like I feel like little adventures with people is like the best way to go starting this week. So it's like spontaneity. So like, for example, like I was writing, I'm like trying to go to like the aquarium, you know, go to an amusement park, or, you know, like a zoo or something, or like a field trip to the library or stuff like that, you know. Gemini is very local, but you by nature are very like, you know, exploratory. And with Mercury in the 9th house, like I feel like this could be like, you know, like trying out spots that maybe are near you, but not like too near you, you know. So it's like not necessarily like very far away, but if it's like a regular day, it's far away. So it's like, it makes me think of like, oh, like it's not 15 minutes away, but it's also not 5 hours away. It's just like a 1 hour drive, you know? So I feel like a lot of you could just be in this mood starting this week where you're trying to explore, especially with your financial situation kind of like reaching a high or reaching some kind of conclusion. So like, I see this as like money's being set aside for something, you get paid, or like, you know, you get like some sort of like a return or something, or like a refund, and then you put that towards like learning something new, especially if you're doing things like scholarships or loans and whatnot. So a lot of you could be receiving money for something like that, or it could just be that a lot of you could be receiving a lot of random clients, or you could just be receiving a lot of interesting news and conversations with people that yield opportunities. But with Neptune stationing retrograde as well in the mix, and Saturn's also stationing retrograde at the end of this week, we're going into retrograde season here. So I definitely feel like this week is like the reveal before you're sort of going into a period where you're taking gauge on something. And it seems to be, again, heavily related to your values, your morals, and your money. So it's like something's revealed to you in this sector of your life. And then as you move past this week, there is something about like, okay, like how does this relate to my desire to have kids? How does this relate to my children? How does this relate to my business, my relationships, you know? And it's just kind of like, Capricorn can be this energy where it shuts itself off. So it's like this week, Sagittarius, I think the best advice that I have for you is to be present. Be present and make sure to not, you know, like run away from things or try to, you know, escape or try to, you know, like set things aside or like even dare I say be avoidant. I think that with your chart ruler being in its exaltation with the sun in your 8th house, this is a great opportunity for you to reach out to people or lean into people, or at least seek out some sort of like a comfort that helps keep you grounded and present and to process your emotions instead of, you know, like running away or trying to, you know, like break free from something when there's really no breaking free to do. It's just that there is something difficult going on right now emotionally and it's time to confront it, but it doesn't necessarily seem like it's something that's like what's right in front of you isn't what's causing you distress, if applicable. But I definitely feel like this is like an uncomfortable full moon because the moon's not happy in Capricorn. It's like the implications behind it and the things that you have taught yourself throughout the course of your life. So know that whatever is happening this week, if you find yourself in discomfort, it's a lot of metaphors and you are a lot more supported than you realize. People are a lot more generous with you than you realize, and people do have like your best interest in mind. So take care and know that there is a lot more good out there trying to look for you than bad. So let's see what card comes out for you. This one. We have the 9 of Wands. Definitely. I feel like this full moon for you is a pretty long time coming. I feel like all the fire rising signs, especially you and Leo, have been dealing with a lot of stuff with your money and just like your work and the labor that you've been putting on and taking on. And I feel like this is like the 9 of Wands is the end of a journey, you know, and it's about hard work. It's about overworking yourself, pushing yourself. So I think that a lot of you Sag rising should know that this week is like you're wrapping something up, cleaning something up, and sorting out your schedule and something. Especially with Uranus getting out of your 6th house for a little bit, I definitely feel like a lot of Sag risings will find it a little bit easier to stabilize their routine and to sort of be a little bit more consistent. But Taurus energy, you know, 6th house, it's like, yes, this is a sign that thrives off routine, but sometimes it can get really stuck in routines and it can, you know, refuse to fight more or want more. You know, if it gets comfortable, it's that much harder. So I feel like the vibe here is to keep yourself going and is to keep moving forward and to continue being innovative and experimental, but more so in an environment that doesn't rip the rug from underneath your feet. I always say teeth. It's finally an opportunity to try new things on your own accord and to move forward, but also to, you know, keep going and to not remain comfortable or complacent. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Okay, now moving on to Aries rising. So hello, Aries rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. Honestly, Aries, I feel like this is a really important week because this is the week we're seeing before we're sort of submerging ourselves into retrograde season. Because this week we will see a full moon in Capricorn. We see Uranus move into Gemini, and we're going to see Saturn station retrograde at the very end of this week, literally right on the 13th. We see Mercury in shadow as well. Neptune has already gone retrograde by the time this week is kind of going. So basically, I think that this full moon has like it has a very heavy implication to it, especially for you because Saturn's in your sign and Saturn's the ruler of this lunation. And this is happening in the middle of the week. So I definitely feel like there's something going on here with your career, your work, and also something about authority figures, like taking control over your life and dealing with something with like your work and your routine. I think that with your chart ruler still in the sixth house, and it's gonna be in the sixth house all of July, sorry. So I feel like there's something going on here when it comes to your habits and your rituals, but how these sort of relate to a work environment, especially if you are being supervised or if there are people sort of calling shots for you. So it's like, low-key Aries, I kind of feel like this full moon could be like getting mouthy with your boss, like if you're in a work situation where you feel like people are being overbearing with you or controlling, like this is the full moon where you like start talking back to them, and it's like I want to say be careful around this full moon for stuff like that, because I definitely feel like Aries placements have sort of an attitude going right now, because it's like you feel a little bit restricted and there's like stuff you want to do and maybe you're feeling like a little bit temperamental and maybe even like criticizing, and it kind of feels like you're dealing with things from left and right that you can't really see coming towards you because your chart ruler is in the sixth house and in Virgo, which is like in a part of your chart that you aren't really fully aware of. So it's like, take your time this week, Aries, and be patient with yourself, especially when it comes to like a career perspective, because with all this cardinal energy, I think the best thing that you should know is that you're moving at a slower pace right now, but the bricks that you're laying down, it's like a brick by brick thing, It's like, yes, it's a slower process and it's a little bit more time consuming and costly, but at the same time, you're building a very strong foundation for yourself, and this full moon is showing you how you can do that, and to sort of like gloss over things and to go back where you can fill in to sort of make things a little bit more stable. Like it makes me think of when you're coloring something and you go back to spots to darken them up and make them look a little bit more even, like this is a time where you're going to be feeling like you're a little bit more thorough and not afraid to go back and sort of sort things out and fix them. And this is definitely a great week to start doing that, like, and this could be really anything, like finishing that book that you never finished reading, finishing that drawing that you never finished drawing, filling in that crack in the sink that you need to like fix. I don't know how you do that, but that could be something you're having to do. Having a conversation with a boss that you meant to have a while ago, or like like that's just like stuff I think of because of the sixth house energy. So it's like, if there's things that you've been putting off, this is a really great week to kind of get back to the basics, especially if you've been feeling like your life has been moving at a breakneck pace. And with your Uranus and Venus snuggled up, whatever you want to call it, in your third house, I definitely feel like this is like running around and receiving help from people or other people wanting to sort of like assist you. And this seems like very like innovative solutions. Like Uranus in the third house definitely makes me feel like you're using internet, or maybe, like this is using like AI or like dabbling into like technology to make your life a little bit easier. Like it just makes me think of someone who has like interesting experiences, So with the trine to Pluto in the 11th house, I want to say two things. I think that you should be careful, but you should also be curious, because, and I say careful because it makes me think of like stuff like those websites where you could have gone and you video chat with strangers. Like that's what it makes me think of, It's like one of those things where it's like in doses, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and you can learn something new and make a best friend. But on the other hand, like it's creepy, it's it can be a very strange experience, and you can run into people that you shouldn't be running into. So it's like, that's what I'm thinking of here, where you're using the internet in creative, wonky ways, or like technology and gadgets that is sort of improving your life or providing you perspectives, and maybe allowing you to gather a group of people that you can work with or people who agree with you. So I kind of feel like this could also be moving around. Uranus and Venus together in third house. Like this makes me think of like spontaneous trips, driving around, phone calls with people, calling people late into the night. It's makes me think of like video games, watching a movie, trying new things in that regard, and doing so in like an experimental way. So it's like you're going to be thinking outside of the box a lot, Aries. So this transit for you will definitely be very wonky. And I want to say, with all the mercurial energy in the skies and Mercury is in your fifth house, like this is the name of your self-expression. This isn't a name of you having fun, and maybe you're doing so through like a Mercury in fifth house theme. It makes me think of like reading books, watching plays, but maybe still doing so in like a local manner. So I feel like this could definitely be where you are exposing or getting used to your ideas and the way that you think by being very vocal about them. But the moon will start out in Sagittarius this week. And with this trining Saturn and Neptune in your first house, I definitely feel like this is buttering you up a little bit, where I feel like a lot of you could be dabbling into new concepts. You could be traveling, and it could be that through traveling, it could be that through exploring new ideas and enterprises, this is what's kind of pushing you in your career sector, you know? Like, it makes me think of like someone goes traveling and then, or like they see someone who runs a business and then you're like, oh my gosh, like I could so do this, you know, like now that I know like the ins and outs, you know. It's like knowledge will liberate you. Something that maybe you thought was harder than it actually is, when you actually like get into the basics of it, it's like, wow, you know. So like maybe you're like the kind of person that's like, man, like I don't know like how I would sell a product, I don't know how like factories and all that stuff work, and then you like step into a factory and then you like see how like someone does it, and then you're like, oh wow, you know, like that's what this makes me think of. So a lot of you could be like going under like a mentorship or like an internship where you are studying and getting experience by someone who already knows what they're doing. But for others of you, this could also be like you being I won't say possessed, exposed to new information that is, you know, like opening your eyes and making you be like, wow, like this is a lot more doable than I thought it was. And at the end of the week, the moon will move through Pluto, and it will move through Aquarius, and it will come into a conjunction with Pluto. There we go. And trine Venus and Uranus in the third house. So I definitely feel like there's something going on here. Be wary of like obsessive energies when it comes to like relationships, especially if you're trying to prove yourself through knowledge. Be wary of like weird twisty conversations. I definitely think that third house and 11th house square trines could be like people being like sneaky or like weird about like information, you know, being like, you know, like people trying to scam you, people trying to like get into your hair, or people trying to like, you know, manipulate, play mind games and power moves when it comes to conversations, especially with the moon there. But I definitely feel like at the end of the week, there will be an emphasis on like groups of people, conversations with others, or just something about like working and collaborating with others, or just like wanting to talk to others. But the Aquarian energy could also be rather isolating. So it's just like, I think the advice that I have for you for that, Aries, is like, don't shut yourself out. I feel like this is like, you have a lot of great ideas that are sort of flowing to you, and since your self-worth is no longer being like scrutinized by Uranus, and you're not running into a bunch of shakeups with your money, with your ideals and morals, I think that this week is a great idea for you to sort of like adhere to what you are used to when it comes to your self-trust and how you perceive yourself. And because of that, I feel like starting this week, a lot of you will be able to be a bit more practical or be more grounded in your approach, but especially when it comes to other people and garnering knowledge to pursue the goals that you want to pursue, that will ultimately help you form a better perception of yourself, or just allow you to grow and be more structured. You know, it's like you're no longer going by the plot all the time, you're actually trying to build something for yourself. And it's like you're not doing it for the plot, you're sort of like making the plot, rewriting it, whatever, something like that. I feel like you know what I mean. Anyways, let's see what card comes out for you. This one. Okay, for you we have the Three of Pentacles. What an appropriate card. Definitely, I feel like a lot of you could be having conversations with people, talking to people. It's funny because I see like these things down here. They look like plants. They make me think of like river plants. So it could be that a lot of you are literally dealing with a body of water. I mean, this whole deck is based on water. But I definitely feel like Three of Pentacles is about like co-workers, collaboration, working in groups, talking to other people who relate to you. But in the reverse, this could also be competitive energy. So it's like, I think the vibe here is be around people who support and uplift you, Aries, as opposed to people who are trying to compete with you and trying to be you. So I know you Aries placements are always dealing with that, people trying to be you. But like, this is the week where you really want to keep an eye out for that and be around environments and situations and relationships that encourage you, as opposed to trying to mimic or put you down. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Aries. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. Okay, now moving on to Taurus rising. So hello, Taurus rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. Honestly, Taurus, I kind of feel like you're gonna like this week. Not in the sense that like, oh, it's gonna be like all sunshine and rainbows, you know, like we love that for us. Like, I just feel like this week for you will make a little bit more sense, or things will have a tendency to not be so confusing, because we see a full moon in Capricorn, and Uranus will also move into your second house in Gemini. Now, the reason I feel like you'll like these energies is because I feel like a lot of them allow you to essentially work harder, not smarter. But I definitely feel like the full moon in Capricorn is the highlight of the week, because it kind of seems like something is being revealed, and then we're going to see a lot of planets start to go into retrograde. Mercury will go into shadow. We see Saturn stationing retrograde right on the 13th. Neptune has already gone retrograde. So there's a lot going on here when it comes to themes of being alone, your identity, and your home, your family, and also things revolving around your roots and your past. But the full moon is happening in your 9th house of your beliefs, higher beliefs, or like bigger systems. So I definitely feel like with a lot of you, there could be something a little bit more like wanting to set out and be by yourself vibes. You know, it like makes me think of like a nomad, or someone who starts like traveling, or someone who is just, you know, wanting to be by themselves to garner perspective, learn something new, you know, traveling by night, you know, like that kind of aesthetic. So I feel like a lot of Taurus risings, especially if you're like between like 0 or no, like 15, like 13, 12, 10 degrees, and then between like 20, because it will form a grand earth trine in your chart with Mars in your 5th house. So ideals and beliefs when it comes to your children, you could be performing some kind of letting go in that sector of your life. But this could also be something revolving around your ego, you know, like how you take pride in your beliefs and what you are a part of, what you identify with, how you are creative, and maybe even for some of you, romantic affairs. Especially if you've been dealing with like long distance, or if you've been like talking to people who are involved in like bigger systems. So it's like if you're like sleeping with someone and they're like a lawyer, you're like, oh, what's going on here? You know, that's y'all's business. But you get what I'm saying, Taurus, here. Like, it seems like no matter which way you're sort of turning this week, you're somehow in some way tangled with an idea that is way bigger than you, and for some of you, bigger than humanity. So I think that with Uranus also moving into your 2nd house, this is like, it makes me think of like innovative ways of making money, you know? It makes me think of like wanting to, you know, like this is literally the whole concept of like using social media to make money. It's something that's like, we wouldn't, like you, Tauruses were basically the one that brought us that, because, you know, Uranus is in your sign for so long and you rule money. But I feel like for you, it takes a little bit of a more personal approach, because Uranus is actually entering your 2nd house. So it's no longer about you coming up with innovative ways to express yourself and live your life. It's more so about taking a more rebellious energy towards your beliefs, your morals, but also your finances and your money, especially with the trines to Pluto in your 10th house. So a lot of you could be going through a lot of transformations, changes, and a lot of uprootings when it comes to your career and your status, especially if your chart ruler in the 2nd house as well. So it's like a lot of you seem to be like changing your ideas, your thought processes, how you interact with social media, the internet, and maybe for some of you, like this is something about like AI. Like I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Taurus placements moving forward are the ones that kind of like show us how to use AI to make money. So I think that a lot of you could be on like some kind of vibe of that. But Gemini is all about knowledge, and with all this mercurial energy in the sky, we need to look at Mercury, and Mercury is in the shadow in your 4th house in Leo. So it kind of seems like this is all boiling back down to your home. It's boiling back down to your family. So on one hand, this could just be you using like innovative ways to like upgrade your home, or like make your home a little bit more high tech and advanced, you know. And it could be that like you're using more technology to make your home life more convenient. But for others of you, this could also be feeling rebellious against like your home like values and like your family values. So it's like, especially if you're dealing with like extended family or people like visiting you, it could be that a lot of you are feeling rebellious with that, you know. Like Gemini is about siblings, and so it makes me think of like your brothers and sisters come over, and then they're like, hey, like we really think that you should just like settle down with someone and like get married and then like go buy a house and like live that nuclear lifestyle. And you're like, no, that's what y'all did. That's not what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna do my own thing when it comes to my home and my family. I'll do whatever I want, you know? And it's like, I feel like that's like a very specific example, but it could really, the implications are very vague and that a lot of you were raised on something, or a lot of you are seemingly attached to or rooted in some kind of like a belief system, or like a like something emotional or something revolving around like your family and your customs, and then like you're kind of like rebelling against it because like your beliefs and your morals are a little bit different, and you're sort of like straying away from that because like you want to be alone, or you don't necessarily, you feel alienated in some way, especially with like the low-key like Aquarian energies of Uranus and Pluto, being in a trine of each other. So it's like you're trying to like break free from something that you've been boxed into or like cookie cut into. Anyways, this week will start out in Sagittarius in your 8th house. So I definitely feel like the beginning of the week will be very financially themed for you, Taurus. I think that a lot of you could be refinancing your home. Maybe you're dealing with something of your mortgage with the trines to Mercury in your 4th house. So maybe some of you could also be receiving money from a family member or giving money to family. Or it could be that a lot of you are just like dealing with like the paying off of debts and taxes. I feel like this is a pretty sweet energy because even though the moon doesn't really like being in the 8th house, it does not mind being in Sagittarius. It's fun, it's experience based, and Venus does appreciate being in the 2nd house, and this is your chart ruler. So this is why I feel like you'll feel the beginning of the week when it comes to like your money. So I feel like a lot of you could be taking like a financial risk, or maybe some of you are leaping into something when it comes to like knowledge and money, and like Sagittarius is like bigger like system. So a lot of you could be putting money into a system that is bigger than yourself, or maybe some of you are trying to get money from some kind of like foundation. But for others of you, I would just imagine that a lot of you are dealing with like the movement of money with like your family, your home, and like your roots. And maybe some of you are even going back and forth with inheritances or like taxes and insurance situations, especially as they relate to like travel matters and like taking in information, like taking classes. And at the end of the week, the moon will move through Aquarius, and it will come into a conjunction with Pluto and trine Venus and Uranus in your 2nd house. So I feel like the end of this week, you'll kind of see like a kickstart to this Uranus transit where you're sort of moving around when it comes to learning new things about your career and your status, and how you can kind of like innovate that into making money or improving your self-worth. And I feel like this is somehow like related to like business partnerships and like connections that you have in the world when it comes to like meeting people, because Pluto rules your 7th house, and Aquarius makes you think of like networking. So I feel like a lot of you could be having like a lot of run-ins with people and like discussions of like money and like learning new things and how to invest that sector of your life. But obviously it doesn't have to always be about money. It could literally just be about like material things, power and capital, and how you interact with those things, and like power being like a word for whatever you feel like is important in your life. So this could even be things going on with like authority figures and like bosses and like coworkers and stuff like that, especially since Venus does rule your 6th house. So I definitely think that there are a lot of implications here too, where this week you're changing your routines and your day-to-day lifestyle in some way to better accustom you. Like Venus in Gemini being the ruler of your 6th house, it literally makes me think of like getting like those LED face masks. Like, it's like weird, it's innovative, it's like very like even controversial, but it is something that can like do you good, and it is something that you can try, whether it be for the aesthetic reason or whether it be because it's actually like a practical thing to do. But like at face value, it is a shock factor. So that's kind of the vibe of this week, where you're trying something weird, or you're trying something that maybe you wouldn't normally try, but it is definitely helping you kind of try, like open yourself up to a whole new concept and world. Let's see what card comes out for you. This one stuck out to me. But you got the 7 of Swords. I definitely feel like with the trines between Pluto and Uranus and Venus, this could be secrets, conversations that are not being had. But it could also be that with all the 12th house energy for you, maybe you are keeping to yourself and sort of keeping yourself guarded. Like this is the definition of like, like knowledge is power, like information, like the more you know, the more cards you hold. No pun intended, or maybe not. But I feel like that's kind of the vibe of this card for you this week, Taurus. Know that the more you bite your tongue, the more power you hold. But in the more power you hold, the more people want that power from you and that knowledge and information. So keep that in mind. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Taurus. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. Okay, now moving on to Gemini rising. So hello, Gemini rising. if you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 3rd or July 7th through July 13th. Y'all. Anyways, Gemini, I feel like this is a really important week for you. It's an important week for all of us, of course, but for you, it's like you're leading the way for something, because we're going to see Uranus move into your first house. So it's like your Uranus is going to be in your sign for a little bit. And then we have a full moon in Capricorn in your 8th house. So I definitely feel like this week for you has like a big financial undertone to it, because this full moon's happening in a 8th house, which is very financial. And then, you know, it kind of just seems like with Jupiter in your 2nd house, like a lot of you could be planning something, and like this is a reveal or like an ending, and it could be that a lot of you are reaching ahead or some kind of like major conclusion when it comes to a financial matter, and when it comes to like insurance, investments, money, other people's money, and how that sort of relates to your own belongings. So it's like how much money you have versus how much money another person has, and like how things can kind of be sorted out with that dynamic. And with Saturn in the 11th house being the ruler of this full moon, it could be that a lot of you are trying to receive funding or loans from like a system or like a group of people. But for others of you, this could also be revolving around your ideals and your beliefs when it comes to a system or like a, you know, other people. And I kind of feel like this could definitely be like something about like intimacy and like your roots and how you feel comfortable within certain social circles or friend groups, or like within like a vibe or idea, because the ruler of Aries, Mars, is still in your 4th house. So there is still like a lot of upheavals and work that you're doing, and maybe even conflict that you're running into when it comes to your home life, when it comes to your family. And a lot of you could be running into some sort of like a conflict here. It's kind of like the best way to put it, honestly. But overall, I just feel like the middle of the week for you, Gemini, will be very financially themed, or in some way, shape, or form, just like related to like your deeper feelings. You know, Capricorn has a tendency to shut itself out, or to, you know, like ignore things. So I feel like in the middle of the week, there will be a tendency to suppress, or there will be a tendency to, you know, like throw yourself into work or do something busy, or, you know, fall into old patterns for the sake of comfort. But I kind of feel like this is like with Jupiter in your 2nd house, if you're wanting to expand upon your self-worth and your confidence, it will essentially force you to feel through these feelings and to confront them. So keep this in mind. And the moon will be in Sagittarius at the beginning of the week. So I definitely feel like the start of the week, there's like an emphasis on relationships, especially friendships with the trine to Saturn, you know, getting more serious about social circles and the people that you're hanging out around, people who agree with you versus people who disagree with you. But especially when it comes to like hot taboo takes with Saturn ruling your 8th house, you know. So it's like there could be like a controversial conversation coming up in the beginning of the week, or it could be that a lot of you are finding yourself to be silenced, you know, like maybe there are people who don't want to hear what you have to say. Maybe there are people that are trying to quiet you down, and this is you being like, no, like I'm gonna say what I want to say. Especially if you're Uranus in your 1st house, you know, like it's not going to be in the 1st house when the moon's in Sag. It's more of like later on in the 7th. But, you know, it's like the same vibe where it's like you're kind of like, no, like I'm going to do whatever the heck I want to do, especially with the trine to Pluto in your 9th house. So it's like traveling, moving around, your ideals, your takes, you know, like this can be like a sort of like a self-serving attitude where it's like you want to stand in front of like a group of people, or you want to preach, or you want to, you know, like teach people what you believe. And it could be that people are against that, you know. So it's like a very like, it's definitely revolving around like a sensitive or like a sore spot when it comes to like a topic or a conversation. So it's just like definitely keep up with that, Gemini, because I kind of feel like the beginning of this week for you will be kind of like a hot seat moment where you're having a conversation that either you or another person really does not want to have. Anyways, the nice thing is though, is that Venus is in your 1st house. So people are perceiving you as more charming, or they're just like people who are finding a lot of enjoyment and even appreciating your hot takes, and, you know, being very like impressed, or kind of be like, ooh, like I would have never guessed. Like, you know, it's like when someone very likable says something very like shocking, you know, like it kind of makes me think of like someone who says things and be like, oh, like that's nice, you know. So it's like on one hand you feel like people aren't being as reactive with you, but on the other hand you might kind of feel like people are like not taking you that seriously. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And The moon will move through Aquarius at the end of the week, which I definitely feel like it's a very important energy because the moon will come into a conjunction with Pluto and also trine Uranus and Venus in your first house. So a lot of you could have an interesting run-in with a long distance matter, but especially like family members, immediate and extended, because Gemini makes me think of immediate family, and then Pluto in the ninth, that makes me think of like extended family. So like I almost wonder if some of you are having to travel, like Pluto is like low-key not a cool energy, so maybe some of you are having to travel for like a funeral, or maybe some of you are having to like travel long distances for a reason that is less than optimal, or maybe there's just like something going on outside of like your immediate family that's just kind of like demanding your immediate family's attention, you know? So it's like what, like your cousins, girlfriend's family is like going through something, and then you and your parents are like, hey, like your cousin's girlfriend's like really going through a lot, so we're gonna like travel and go like support them and like talk to your other cousins, see what's going on, you know? It's like, it's seemingly like a weird excuse, but it's like there's a lot going on here, and it kind of seems like it's just barely out of your reach to where like you have to worry about it every single day, but it's somehow being brought to your attention. But for others of you, this could also be revolving around like knowledge and trying to consume something, learning new things, reading books, reading websites, you know, looking for interesting ways to gain knowledge. Gemini, it makes me think of like local spots. It makes me think of like going to like an aquarium or something when it has like, you know, like those signs that like teach you about the animals. So it's like trying to find fun in things like that, you know, trying to find fun and enjoyment in learning and garnering information and gaining new perspectives. So all of that good stuff. And I want to say there's so much mercurial energy in the sky, and your Mercury is in your third house. Mercury is stationing shadow as well, and Saturn is stationing retrograde at the end of this week, right on the 13th. So there's a lot of things going on here, and Neptune has stationed retrograde too. So there's a lot of stuff going on here when it comes to like going back on things, when it comes to the people that you hang out around, groups, ideas that you share with other people, but also how it relates to, you know, you wanting to be an original thinker and you wanting to take the lead in some way, shape, or form. Mercury stationing shadow in the third house definitely feels like a lot of you could be refinancing a car or trying to, you know, to move around your investments, because we see Mercury in a sun rule sign, the sun's in the second house, and then we have that full moon this week too. So I kind of just feel like there's something going on here where you're trying to refinance something. Maybe this is like you trying to set up automatic payments, or, you know, reversing something when it comes to like online investments and money. So it makes me think of like maybe you're just like changing cards, like maybe your credit card expired and you have to get like a new one. Maybe this is you setting up Apple Pay for the first time. Maybe this is you setting up Apple Pay for a family member. But this could also be, you know, changing banks. Like this could be stuff revolving or like moving money from one account to the other, you know, maybe to pay off something. But for others of you, this could also be trying to learn something new. There's a lot of implications of knowledge here as well. So maybe some of you are trying to learn a new language. Maybe some of you are trying to learn a new course, or maybe an instrument, or just like something that's like very complicated. And it seems to be like performance related, because Leo is like very performative vibes. So a lot of you could be trying to like learn something new, if like you want to be like praised for it, gain recognition for it, or it could be that a lot of you are seeking some kind of like praise and approval for what you know. But it seems to be related to your family. Like this is a lot of personal transits for you, Gemini, because we have a lot of planets in the first chunk of your chart. So it's like a lot of you are reworking your inner life and how that sort of relates to other people, because we see a lot of like more like slow moving planets in the top half of your chart, whereas all the faster moving planets are in the bottom half of your chart. So it's like your personal life is definitely on the move, and this week is absolutely no exception, especially as it relates to like external bigger concepts interacting with your little life. So let me shuffle the card and see what comes out for you. Oh, this card wants to come out. Let's just take it. For you, we have the Sun. I really like this card, and the actual Sun is in your second house. So I feel like this is another nudge towards money, but the Sun is about enjoyment. It's about having fun. It's about the warmth of the sun. You know, we need the sun for life. We need it for good things to happen on this earth. You know, we need it for vitamins, we need it for light, we need it for our day cycles. And it's like a lot of us don't think about it in so many different ways. You know, the sun's been around for such a long time. So it's like, on one hand, a lot of you could be dabbling into knowledge and ideas that it's just like when you expand upon it, it's really wild. But on the other hand, I also just kind of feel like this is you having fun, indulging more in your own life and being a little bit more present and just, you know, starting anew. Because in the Rider-Waite, there's a baby riding something. I think it's a horse with a bunch of sunflowers and with the sun. So it's like about having fun and starting some kind of new journey in innocence and, you know, dabbling into something innocently, you know, because you don't know much, but you're also experiencing something so beautiful in the heat of the moment. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Gemini. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Alright, now moving on to Cancer Rising. So hello, Cancer Rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope from July 7th through July 13th. You can't tell, but I'm like squinting my eyes because I literally keep forgetting what the time frame is. But anyways, Cancer, this is a pretty important week for you because we see a full moon. So your chart ruler, every time we're talking about it, we know we's talking about you. So the highlight of the week is that full moon. You know, it's in Capricorn in your 7th house on the 10th. And this week we also see Uranus move into Gemini in your 12th house. The energies and the implications around this lunation and this transit is very all over the place. I have to say, Uranus in the 12th house is easily the most unpredictable energy one could possibly imagine, especially with like Gemini, because like Gemini is like also unpredictable. So it's like there's a lot of blind spots that are kind of coming to the surface here, and they seem to be related to like your deeper feelings, your emotions. And with the full moon this week in your 7th house, it seems to be revolving around your relationships, you know, how you relate to people at a deeper level when it comes to connecting. And, you know, like Cancer is the mother and Capricorn is the father. So this could be for a lot of you, your relationship to your father. And with, you know, Aries, Saturn, the ruler of this being in Aries, and then Mars is in your 3rd house, it could be like communication stuff and how you react to authority, especially if you felt like you've been themes of like people trying to control you, people trying to, you know, like watch your every move, be overbearing and overprotective with you. So I feel like themes revolving around that could be coming up, but more so in like a personal fashion this week, since the moon is in your 7th house. So it's like the farthest house away from you. So it's like a little bit out of reach and it might feel like a little bit stretched out. But I feel like a lot of this is happening through conversations that you are having with immediate family, with maybe therapists, with doctors, or just people that you could be consulting to assist you in some way, shape, or form. But I also just feel like this could be like a completion regarding legal matters. So for those of you who are, you know, like going through legal matters, like I feel like this full moon, and like, by the way, like I'm sorry, I just dropped the guidebook, but you know, this is like, if you haven't been dealing with legal matters at all, this isn't like the beginning of that. This is more of like wrapping that up if you've been, you know, dealing with that, especially as it relates to like work and like control stuff and like, you know, whatnot. So it kind of seems like this is like you like closing a case or signing something, or like documents being finalized and whatnot. So a lot of you could be dealing with something like that, especially when it comes to like travel matters or when it comes to like education things, because of Neptune being in the mix. And Neptune is in the retrograde, so maybe some of you are receiving some kind of news or wrestling with something when it comes to school, long distance matters, and maybe even something again about the law or the court. But anyways, this week the moon will start out in Sagittarius in your 6th house. So with the trines to planets in your 10th house, I feel like this is a lot for you in the sense that you're working a lot or like you're just like pushing forward. I feel like this week for you will definitely start out very busy and, you know, responsibilities like Sagittarius, and, you know, like Jupiter's in your sign. So like this makes me think of like working out, going to the gym, you know, walking the dogs, taking care of this, taking care of that, eating well, whatnot. And I kind of just feel like a lot of you are trying to like learn something in order to better your day-to-day life. But on top of that, I just kind of feel like this week is just starting out very busy and you guys are just sort of like moving around, especially because the moon will square Mars in your 3rd house. So excuse me, this could be a lot of driving around. This could be a lot of moving around, you know, phone calls, interviews, conversations of people. And, you know, like if you've gotten particularly mouthy with a coworker or with a boss or something, if you've been in trouble before in these past few weeks, I definitely feel like this week could present to you some kind of news about that, you know, like if you've gotten written up or something. So a lot of you could be dealing with something like that. But I also kind of feel like this could be something revolving around your car and taking care of it. So it's like, beginning of this week, take care not to rush, take care not to be so impatient or happy-go-lucky. Like, don't drive if your car is at like 5 miles, you know, it's like maybe get gas first, you know, like don't try to push your luck with your routines this week. Try to be on top of it. The moon will move into Aquarius at the end of the week, specifically around like Friday, and the moon will come into a conjunction of Pluto, trine Uranus and Venus in your 12th house. So I definitely feel like the end of the week will be feeling very wonky, very intense. So if you want to get things done this week, Cancer, I think the beginning of it is the way to go. I wouldn't wait until the weekend to sort of get things done, because this weekend might feel very like, it might feel like a lot for you when it comes to like your feelings and when it comes to like boundaries, but also when it comes to intimacy and like spirituality, letting things go. Like Uranus in the 12th house could be very cathartic, but it could also be very like burdening, because the 12th house is like where planets go to release things. And if Uranus ruling your 8th house and Pluto rule in your 8th house as well, it kind of seems like there's something about like intimacy here and like how you have exchanges with people in like a social setting, especially if like you feel like you're a little bit detached from the people around you, your local community and social circles, especially when it comes to like your way of thinking and communication. It could be that you are feeling especially rebellious in this sector of your life, and there is a desire for compromise or, you know, blazing a path for something. And with Venus here as well, it could be through like a woman or your perception and interactions with more feminine energies. And Venus rules your 4th house, so this could be something about like family customs and, you know, things revolving around your heritage and your upbringing and your roots. So there's definitely something dealing with that as well. And I want to mention as well, there is a lot of mercurial energy in the skies. You know, we have Venus, Uranus, the South Node, Mars, and Mercury is in your 2nd house, and it's stationing in the shadow this week. So I kind of feel like there's something going on here this week when it comes to your values, when it comes to your finances, your self-worth, your pride and your ego, and how that sort of relates to the things I was talking about when it comes to like customs and traditions, but especially like in society, especially when it comes to our ways of thinking. And you know, like there's something going on here of like language as well. Like a lot of you could have like a lot of interesting dreams. Like this makes me think of like, for some reason, having like a dream in a different language when you can't even speak that language. So it's like unlocking your potential and realizing that you are capable of so much more. But overall, Cancer, I kind of just feel like this week for you is a little bit like all over the place when it comes to your relationships. And it kind of seems like an interaction with another person or a past interaction with even another person could be sort of hitting you, and it could be making you think a little bit more critically about something, an area that maybe you're not so used to. I kind of feel like with all that, you know, like low-key Aquarian, Uranian energy, this energy knows how it feels and it understands itself very well. But when it comes to actually feeling, expressing those emotions and communicating them, there can be sort of like a difficulty. So I feel like this week for you, you're kind of going about like an interesting way to putting your feelings into words or putting your experiences into words. So like it's maybe like, instead of like writing it down, maybe you're creating art, maybe you're doing like charades, or maybe you're like leaning into like some sort of like a dance or some kind of interpretation to voice yourself and your deeper feelings in order to achieve a different kind of intimacy, especially with like your spirit and with like your subconscious. But on the other hand, I also feel like a lot of you could be going back and forth when it comes to educational pursuits, learning affairs, and how you are dealing with higher ups and power and your goals when it comes to like your identity and how that relates to your ideas, your knowledge, and also your interactions with the internet. So a lot of you could be going back and forth with something about like websites and like communications and like, you know, interviews. Anyways, let's see what card comes out for you. Sorry for your fireworks. This card really stuck out to me for some reason. Let's take this one. For you, we have the Nine of Swords. I definitely see the vibe because I feel like Uranus in the 12th house, it's going to be something that you need to get used to, but this can cause like your mind to be on overload, Cancer. I feel like your subconscious is going to be overloaded. Like this is a really overstimulating energy. You know, it's like, oh, I want to do that. I want to learn this. I want to learn how to fold origami. I want to learn how to speak Spanish. I want to learn how to speak French. Oh my gosh, like I have a Rubik's Cube. You know, I want to do this, I want to do that. You know, it's like that's Gemini energy. It wants to learn everything. It wants to consume as much knowledge as possible. And this could manifest as like constantly overstimulating yourself and moving abroad and, you know, doing something new. And I feel like this week for you, it'll be like you have great idea after great idea, but at the same time, if you don't anchor yourself and ground yourself, it could be that you start to give into overthinking and become really anxious and paranoid. So it's like, make sure to take care and to feed your mind good things and to stay on track with it. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Cancer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Leo rising. So hello, Leo rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. Honestly, Leo, I feel like a lot of the energies this week is just kind of like helping you along with something, because a lot of the energies either don't aspect your ascendant or it's just kind of like helping you along with something else. Anyways, this is a pretty important week for you in the sense that there is a setup going on, or there is like some sort of momentum building. And I say this because the highlight of the week is definitely this full moon in Capricorn that's happening on the 10th, and the Uranus moving into Gemini / your 11th house on the 7th. So it's like this week is starting out pretty strong. And I wanted to start with the full moon in Capricorn. It's happening in your 6th house, and I really like this energy for you because I feel like a lot of Leo risings, have been dealing with a lot of movement and a lot of momentum buildup or like inertia with their health, with their routine, and also work situations. I've noticed like a select few of Leo risings have been going back and forth with like workers' comp, of things relating to like travel matters, learning something new, having to go here, having to go there. And you know, the ruler of Saturn is in your 9th house, so like there's something going on here of like long distance affairs and how that sort of relates to your routine, your work status, and maybe even your finances. So I feel like this sector of your life will start to reach ahead this week, and it'll be an area of your life where you see like a reveal. I feel like you'll really like this full moon, Leo. Even though on one hand, maybe it'll be a little bit uncomfortable, or it will be kind of like you're having to roll up your sleeves and kind of get to the nitty gritty of things. Sorry if you hear fireworks. I feel like on the other hand, it will also finally allow you to, you know, roll up your sleeves and, you know, do something about it. It's like, it might have felt like over these past few weeks, it's like you do something and then you're just like, okay, like now I wait, nothing's happening. But this week it might actually feel like you're able to put in effort and then you see some kind of merit for it. And at the very least, this is just like a completion or like some sort of a finalization of things revolving around your work, your health, your animals, and your day-to-day obligations. And, you know, especially if your chart ruler involved in the 12th house, so it's kind of like you're letting go of something, you know, with like the sun in the 12th. So it's like, this is like you, like, as you're releasing something, it is also releasing something in your physical reality, because the 12th house is really intangible, whereas the 6th house is extremely tangible. So it's kind of like, and through releasing something spiritually and, you know, doing so in like a very cathartic, emotional way, you're releasing something when it comes to your routines. I also mentioned this for Cancer, and I kind of want to like start mentioning this more. Cancer is the mother, whereas Capricorn's the father. So maybe there's something like releasing going on when it comes to your mother and your family, and that is sort of like coming to a realization or revealing something when it comes to your relationship with your dad or something about him. That's for a select few of you, obviously. And then also, we will see the moon start out in Sagittarius this week. So I feel like this week will start out pretty friendly for you, Leo, because the moon will trine Mercury in your sign, it will trine Saturn, Neptune in your 9th house. So it's like, I feel like the beginning of the week, there is definitely some sort of premise of like going out, traveling, having fun, enjoying yourself. And because the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, is in the 12th house, like I feel like going out is like going somewhere by yourself. Like this makes me think of like going to a park or like traveling somewhere solo and just kind of like being by yourself, doing things that you want to do, even if that means that like no one's really participating but you know what I'm saying? But the 5th house is also about children, so this could be you know, like spending time with your children, getting serious about them, maybe something about like their educational goals. But the moon trining Mercury in your first house, Mercury ruling your second and your 11th house, like this could also be like, you know, like for the others of you, maybe this is something about friends, maybe this is something about catching up with someone, especially because Mercury will be in shadow this week, which is really important to mention. I'll get to that in a second because I don't want to get too off track here. But basically, at the beginning of the week, I feel like there's something going on of like learning new things, you know, being abroad and sort of like moving around and planning things, wanting to move around, travel, get around, learn something. Like the list goes on and on. I could start repeating myself. But the moon will be in Aquarius at the end of the week, and the moon will conjunct Pluto and trine Uranus and Venus. This is honestly kind of a quirky energy for you, Leo, because this is in your 7th house. And with the trines of Uranus and Venus in the 11th, like there could be a lot of things going on, especially with like a woman in your life. You know, if you have like a female friend who's like really strange or like acting crazy and obsessed with you, like this is like something to keep track of. But for others of you, if this is also about something with like your community and like even immediate family members, because Venus has rulership over your 3rd house, like this could like even be a neighbor or like a local support group or like people that you're just around in like your local community. So whether it be like the barista that makes your coffee every day, or whether it be like that weird person that you seem to run into every other day, it's just like a lot of you could be having a lot of interesting and like potent run-ins with people in your area. So it's like I've been noticing some fire placements are having like some sort of like strange occurrences with others. So it's like just like take care of that, Leo. And I don't mean that in a way that's just like, oh, like I'm trying to scare you. Like it's one of those things where it's like if you've already noticed it, like this is confirmation for you. If you haven't noticed it, that doesn't apply to you, because this is a very like potent energy, and if it was already occurring, like you would have felt it by now. So keep that in mind. But for others of you, I also feel like this could be something about, you know, just like online stuff, you know, like Gemini and Aquarius together. Like that's like stuff of like AI. This is stuff about like the internet. This is stuff about like chat rooms and whatnot. So a lot of you could be dabbling into stuff like that and having some very potent and even like eye-opening conversations with people. Venus rules your 10th house as well. So I almost wonder if this is something about like changes and transformations that you're undergoing when it comes to your career and your status when it comes to like the internet and stuff. So I think that this could definitely be like a potent energy for you. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. I just feel like this week for you, there's a lot of ideas floating around, because this is a lot of fresh energy at one time and in a very unpredictable way. Like there's no way you could ever predict what a Uranus transit is going to do. But the nice thing is that Uranus is pretty familiar with the 11th house. So I kind of feel like this will be like right up your alley, where you're able to kind of like change your way of thinking or sort of shift your communication and come up with creative ways to make friends and relate to other people. But on the other hand, this is also really important for you to not isolate yourself or to allow fear or other negative emotions to push you away from making meaningful connections. And I kind of just feel like with the Saturn transit that you had in your 8th house, like this is a perfect way to kind of like put that to the test, where you're able to intimately connect with other people and sort of like slowly but surely breaking out of your shell, not always trying to cling on to something that makes you feel safe. And maybe there will be a situation that comes up this week where you're kind of having to like dive headfirst into like a relationship, or like, you know, like interact with another person, getting more serious. But I wanted to say the Mercury energy is very important, especially for you, because we're going to see a lot of retrograde energy. We're entering retrograde season. Mercury's in shadow this week. Saturn's stationing retrograde right on the 13th. Neptune is already retrograde. And, you know, Pluto's retrograde too. So I kind of feel like with Venus, Uranus, Mars, the South Node, all in a Mercury sign, and Mercury being in your first house, it's like you're taking control of something in your life. And it seems to be related to like the people that you hang out around, the people who you share ideas with, money, your ideas, your self-worth, and your finances. And it kind of seems like you're taking action through communicating with people, through spending money, through investing in yourself, the projects that you want. And I feel like this week for you, like there's a potential to change a lot of things. Like over this Mercury retrograde, I feel like there's a lot of things that you're visiting, you know, when it comes to like money making ideas, business strategies, you know, like ways to make friends and meet people. I just feel like this is like a time where a lot of Leo risings are finally getting back to their dreams and what they want to do, instead of sort of always being focused on what other people want you to do, or being focused on like the responsibilities. And maybe with the 6th house full moon, like this is you releasing some petty responsibilities that aren't actually doing anything for you, and you're freeing up time to create or do something that makes you very happy and will bring in some coin, you know. So let's see what the cards have to say. these cards. Yeah, for you, we have the Eight of Cups. I really like this energy for you, Leo. I feel like this is so like that 6th house full moon where you are walking away from something because it doesn't bring you any emotional fulfillment, you know, like it's about walking away from the 8 cups that are very emotionally confusing because, you know, it's like something doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't make sense to you in the way that it makes you feel, and because that you're walking away from it. So this could be like a habit, this could be a belief system, but overall, I just kind of feel like, Leo, this is a week where you are able to finally let go of something. And even though it might not be the most comfortable process, it's probably a hard decision to make, it's still allowing you to move away and free up time and energy. You know, like at the very least, this could be like canceling like a subscription and you're like, oh, now I have $15 every month that I can spend on something else. But this could also be like, man, like I just, you know, like maybe this is like a dark theme, but it's like, you know, it isn't always a good thing, you know. It's like, oh, wow, like my dog, like, you know, is no longer with us, but now I don't have to like take care of my really old dog every single day and make sure that he's not like about to like, you know, like be one with the intangible. And so it's like now I have more free time because I'm not so stressed about that, you know. So it's like it doesn't always have to be like a pleasant theme, but the point is that time is being freed up in your schedule and you're allowed to make room for something else in your life because something else is leaving or you're walking away from something. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Leo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Okay, now moving on to Virgo rising. So hello, Virgo rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. Honestly, Virgo, I kind of feel like this week for you is a little bit more pleasant than others. And the preparation that's kind of going into it is a little bit more enjoyable for you because it kind of seems like you have a little bit more control, or it just seems like you feel like you're a little bit more left to your devices to kind of deal with stuff. Not to say that this will be like a you're having a fun time. I just feel like a lot of you feel a little bit better about your circumstances, at least per se. But anyways, I say this as we have a full moon in Capricorn this week in the 5th house on the 10th, and we also have Uranus moving into Gemini in your 10th house. And I really like these energies for you. The full moon is trining your ascendant, and Uranus moving into your 10th house is a little bit like a wonky energy, but it definitely seems like you are being a little bit more innovative, and you will also be one of the main people who is leading forth our revolution in Gemini territory when it comes to how we speak, how we think, and how we share ideas with other people. And with the trine to Pluto in your 6th house, I feel like you're doing so through themes that you are familiar with, you know, health, services, how you show up for other people, and how you are able to provide some sort of like, you know, wellness for others. You know, like Pluto in the 6th, it literally makes me think of something about like this could be like an internship for a lot of you, or it could be that a lot of you are seeking out some kind of unique way to gain experience or to be exposed to a practice that you want to learn. And, you know, like it could be like a very intense thing, you know, like Pluto in the 6th makes me think of like being a surgeon, you know, like that's really high stakes. That's like intense, you know, that's a lot. It's scary and there's a lot at play. And, you know, like this is the kind of energy where I feel like you're stepping up to, where you are deciding to do innovative things in these areas of life that are very challenging and very, you know, scary and demanding, you know. So it's like, just be wary of packing too much onto your schedule, Virgo. I've been noticing a lot of you Virgo risings have been in sort of like a hermit mode, or you're especially pulled back along with your friend Leo. So, and, you know, like I just feel like a lot of you right now are sort of like wanting to be by yourself. And with the full moon in Capricorn, I feel like this could like tease a little bit something out of you, where you're able to enjoy your time with other people, spend time with others, have fun, go out. And, you know, this is the 5th house, so a lot of you could also be dealing with some sort of a reveals around children, having children, whether it be your kids or someone else's kids. But, you know, I feel like with Saturn in the 8th house and Saturn being the ruler of this could also be something about like your spending habits. This could be something about like, you know, I've noticed some Virgo risings have been paying off like debts or paying off like certain bills that need to be taken care of. But the 5th house just makes me think of like kids. So this could be related to kids or other people's kids, or like it could be that because of kids, like there's something about like finances coming through. It doesn't have to be directly related to them. It could be like, oh, like your sister paid all her money on like diapers and taking care of the baby this month, so it's like she asked you for like $5 to get herself a coffee, you know, like it could be something as simple as that, but it could be a lot bigger where it's like you're having to like move around things revolving around like money, and you're getting serious about some sort of like a responsibility. And this could be related to friends and social circles as well, with the energy in your 11th house. So there could definitely be something here, especially because Mercury is in a sun ruled sign, and Mercury is, you know, like the sun is in the 11th house of the full moon. So I kind of feel like there's something going on here of like a release, or like letting go of something, or just being by yourself in some sort of a journey revolving around your self-expression, your creativity, but also your ego and your relationship with your inner child, but also other children as well. And the moon will start out in Sagittarius this week. So this week will kind of start out with things revolving around your family, your home, your roots. On one hand, this could be you like rearranging your room, changing up your room, getting more serious about your room, refinancing your home, or like, you know, like maybe if you owe family members money or something, this could be you like organizing something like that, because the moon will be trining Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house. So the reorganization of finances in a home setting. But I also feel like this could, for a lot of you, be something, like I said, about like your roots, your home, and changing that up. And, you know, with the trine to Mercury in your 12th house, it could be that a lot of you are having some introspection when it comes to your dreams, your ideals, and also your subconscious, and honoring your gut. I just feel like the beginning of the week, if you want to set the tone, it's about paying attention to the thoughts that you have when you are by yourself. And at the end of the week, specifically around Friday, we're going to be seeing Pluto in your, or we're going to see the moon in the moon in Aquarius in the 6th house. There we go. And it will join up with Pluto, and it will trine Uranus and Neptune in your 10th house. So I feel like a lot of you could just be getting very serious about something about like your personal life, because these first few houses are very personal, you know. So it's like setting something up when it comes to like your family. Some of you could even be moving. Maybe some of you are trying to like set money down for like a home or something, or maybe some of you are trying to like, you know, like deal with something with that. But at the end of the week, I kind of feel like there's something going on here with like your health and your practices. I want to say that moon conjunct Pluto in the 6th house is like a really busy energy. We've seen this energy here and there, you know, like every other month, you know, Virgo. So it's coming again where your schedule gets really packed, you're very busy, and you're having to sort of do this and do that, especially because the moon will also oppose Mercury in your 12th house. So it's like, be wary if you are getting into like a very emotionally demanding routine. And I also feel like this could be some kind of like a stressor when it comes to like animals, or when it comes to things revolving around like your health. So it's like, just make sure to stay on top of it this week, Virgo, and make sure to evenly distribute your responsibilities. Like this low-key makes me think like around the full moon, you're like, I'll set everything aside and I just want to have fun. And then like the weekend comes around, you're like, oh my gosh, like I completely forgot to do everything. Now I have to like, you know, like lock in and like do all this stuff, you know. And it's like you could have just paced yourself throughout this week. But I also feel like this could be nudge where it's like maybe you're working a little bit too much and you're not making any time for fun, and this full moon showing you like, hey, like set some time aside to enjoy yourself, do the things that make you happy, do things that are, you know, interesting for you. Especially with like the darker, more like taboo things with Saturn in the 8th house in Aries. So it's like dabbling into stuff that you want to do, dabbling into stuff that you find enjoyable. Maybe other people don't find it enjoyable, but it's like you do what you want to do. So like at the very least, it makes me think of like getting in the car with your friends and they always DJ and like they're playing the music they want, but it's like you're not playing the music that you want, you know. It's like time for you to step up and do the things that you want to do. And then we have a lot of Mercurial energy in the sky, Uranus and Venus in the 10th house together, Venus ruling your 2nd house as well as your 9th house. So it's like something about like traveling and spontaneously moving around for business opportunities, or to kind of like learn something new, like I keep saying. And then Mercury in your 12th house, the ruler of all of this, you know, Mars, the South Node, Venus, and Uranus. I feel like Mercury in your 12th house, this is where Mercury goes, or planets just go in general, to let go of things, to release. So I feel like a lot of you could be confronting a lot of uncomfortable themes this week when it comes to your pride and ego, and, you know, how you have fun and enjoy yourself. But especially when it comes to how you relate to others in your social circles and the people that you are around, your community, your dreams, and what you want to accomplish for yourself. The goals that you're essentially very emotionally attached to, you know. It's like when you're a little kid, you're like, man, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. And then, you know, you grow up, you're like, okay, maybe not that, but I do want to be someone that I really like to be, you know? So it's like, that's like a very simple goal, but I just feel like for a lot of you, there's definitely an idea that you have that you're sort of working towards right now, or there is a vision that you are committing to. And with all of the new energy this week, I feel like you're doing so in sort of like a new experimental, innovative way. So it's like nothing has really changed per se, and you're still heading towards the goals that you've had in mind for a while now. It's just that your approach is changing up, and the way that you go about your ambitions is being rearranged and sorted out differently. And it seems to be because of the people that you are around or what you are being exposed to. Let's see what card comes out for you. I feel like this one. Yeah, for you, we have the Chariot. I love that. The 8th house energy, or the 11th house energy. Movement, your dreams. This could literally be moving homes. This could be changing your location. Things revolving around your family. But I also just kind of feel like this energy is about forward movement. It makes me think of like, you know, this card's ruled by Cancer, you know, that cardinal water energy. And, you know, this is a very quick-paced card, and it just feels like you're doing this and doing that and getting a move on, and this could be manifesting as like a very packed schedule. But at the same time, like I said, I feel like it's a very nice thing for a lot of you Virgo risings, where it probably feels like you're actually making progress, or it probably feels like you're actually having stuff to do now, and it isn't like you're trying to occupy yourself or do busy work or do like the tedious things. It's like this gets done, and then you get this and this out of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's a lot more cause and effect in your life, and it might kind of just feel like there's a lot more fluidity. So embrace this and continue to make the progress that you would like to see, Virgo. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Virgo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. Okay, now moving on to Libra rising. So hello, Libra rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. And honestly, Libra, I feel like this week for you will feel very personal, or it will feel right at home, because we have a full moon in Capricorn in your 4th house of home and family, right on the 10th. And then at the beginning of this week on the 7th, Uranus will move into your 9th house, which is pretty important because Uranus will be a little bit close to Venus and will have caught up a tad bit. So Venus is slowly moving away from Uranus, so the energy won't be as distinct, but it will definitely be there. Excuse me. In the sense that a lot of you will be moving around and trying to revolutionize when it comes to your philosophies, your ideals, maybe even for some of you something about your religion, your physical location, but also your higher beliefs and education. I feel like Uranus in the 9th house makes you want to just like learn new things, or like learn things that are a little bit like out of the ordinary. Or it could be that you start to experience a lot of shakeups and a lot of movement when it comes to your educational life and what you're learning, if you know what I mean. And it could be that like instead of taking like a 4-year college program, it's like you take a bunch of like little classes that last a few months, you know. And I feel like that will be manifesting, especially with the Gemini energy. I feel like that will be manifesting in your pursuits of learning new things, but also when it comes to traveling, when it comes to bigger ideas, just anything with the 9th house. And this could also be something related to like law and learning about a bigger system. So it doesn't have to be like you're dealing with like legal matters and whatnot. That could be the case, but I feel like for a good majority of you, it's more about learning about systems and being very curious about wanting to change something in this sector, rebel against it, or even innovate it or revolutionize. And with the full moon happening in your 4th house with the ruler Saturn in your 7th, I feel like this is like a very obvious and a very vivid full moon, especially if you are anywhere between like 0 to 10 degrees of Libra rising. Like you're gonna feel this pretty strongly because it's gonna form a very light grand cardinal cross in your chart. So there's a lot of movement in your life, and it's because of a home or living situation. And you know, like I said, I feel like it's very colorful. So this could be like, oh, like you break up with your partner and you like move away from them, you know, and you're like leaving the house. Or this could be that you are getting together with someone and you're taking it to the next step, and this is you moving in with them, you know. But whatever it might be, there is some sort of like a completion or some kind of a wrap up energy when it comes to your home. And I feel like, Capricorn's about the father, it's about burden. So I feel like maybe for some of you, this could be like responsibilities and burdens you feel in your family. And this is you either releasing them or sort of stepping up to the plate for them. And with Jupiter in the 10th house, like this is definitely taking like a toll or, like amping up something when it comes to your career and your status. So it's just kind of like, if you move homes and you live with another person or someone starts living with you, whatever it might be, especially if you work from home, this will change your living situation a lot. It will change your career and impact it in some way, shape, or form when it comes to your routines and your day-to-day habits and even your sleep schedule with Mars in your 12th house. And honestly, for Libra, I feel like a lot of you could have something starting to fester when it comes to your relationships. I think this Mars and Virgo transit has been wildly uncomfortable, and I knew it was going to be uncomfortable, and especially for you because it's in the 12th house. So the advice that I have for you for this full moon and just for the rest of the month with this Mars and Virgo transit, go easy on yourself. And know that how hard you're being on yourself and how much you're criticizing yourself is nowhere near, like, no one can match up to that, Like, it's not your job to be hard on you. That's other people's job. So leave it to them and don't do that stuff for free. But yeah, like, I just feel like there's just a lot going on if you Libra at a mental, like cerebral, emotional, spiritual level. And take care to purge that by revising burdens and responsibilities and how those are sort of distributed amongst your household and the people that you live with. And especially if you are dealing with like long distance members, family members coming in, because we have all this 9th house energy, especially with the trine to Pluto in your 5th, like a lot of you could be receiving a lot of random news and conversations and deepenings with extended family. And this could either be like really bad or really good for y'all. So if it's like really bad, like I could see this as like, and by the way, because these planets are slower moving, these are energies that, like, if you have been sensing them and dealing with them already, this is just confirmation, or this is just kind of like telling you like, hey, like this is what's going on. And if you have not been dealing with that, then, like, obviously it's not for you. But I'm just kind of like mentioning that. It's funny that I'm like talking about like long distance and we're here playing like whatever. But I see this as, like long distance family members no longer talks to your mom or your dad, and they're just like, what, we're not speaking to you anymore. Or like this could be for some of you, a cousin is having a baby and you're having to go fly to go see them. So I think a lot of you could be dealing with a woman at long distance anyways, because Venus in your 9th house. So maybe some of you, a sister-in-law or a grandmother or something is coming to stay with you, visit you or whatnot. But this could also be revolving around your social circles, and I'll get into why in a little bit. This week we'll start out with the moon in Sagittarius squaring Mars, opposing Venus. So we have like a very low-key T-square going on. The beginning of the week is going to feel like a little bit hefty when it comes to conversations, talking to people, moving around, driving, and also getting sleep, interesting dreams. And the week might just start out kind of just feeling like your chatterbox mode, where you're kind of having to like be all over the place at one time. So I think the beginning of the week, I just noticed, like I said, every time when the moon's in Sagittarius, I noticed that Libra risings are sort of running errands and doing this and doing that. And, with the moon, or we have so much lunar energy in the skies with Jupiter and the sun, sorry, I'm like tripping over my words, in Cancer, I feel like there's a lot of stuff when it comes to the logistics of your career and your status. So like if you own a business, this is like organizing something about a website, this is about making phone calls, this is about lining up something with like conversations and interviews with people in a career setting, this is like Zoom meetings, this is phone calls with your boss, this is stuff like that. It's like all the communication stuff and the movement of knowledge and how that interacts with your career. So I feel like a lot of you could be dealing with something like that in the beginning of the week, but especially as it relates to the internet and like just like exchanging in conversations. And then at the end of the week, the moon will be in Pluto, or it will be in Aquarius. I keep saying that. The moon will join up with Pluto in your 5th house and trine Uranus and Venus in your 9th. So kind of seems like the end of the week there's something going on here when it comes to like children, your ego, self-expression, but also like taking risks and gambling, and how that sort of relates to like 9th house themes of like information and traveling and new things. and bigger systems. But what the nice thing is that Uranus is out of your 8th house, so it's like a little bit less of a shakeup when it comes to your finances and like intimacy and like your relationship with stability. Like I feel like a lot of Libra risings will start to feel a little bit more stable after this month, or you'll start to feel a little bit more grounded. And I wanted to say too, we have a lot of mercurial energy in the sky. Mars, the South Node, Venus, the Uranus, and Mercury is in shadow in your 11th house. Saturn will also station retrograde at the end of this week in your 7th house. So a lot of revision done when it comes to your relationships and other people, Libra, starting this week. And it seems to be related to like your social circles, you know, like common goals, you know, like you're with your partner and you're like, oh, like I want to do this when I'm older, and then they're like, oh, I want to do this, you know, like this is like a really important discussion. This is like dating and getting serious and be like, oh, we need to talk about marriage and our common goals, you know. So it's like I feel like a lot of you are trying to get on the same page as other people, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you also start reaching out to certain friends again, or start to double back on social circles and the people that you are surrounding yourself with. Anyways, let's see what card comes out for you. This one. For you, we have the 10 of Swords. I definitely feel like this is a very appropriate card for you, and I actually really like this card for you, Libra. I feel like with the full moon happening in the 4th house, this is essentially the 10 of Swords energy where you are being released from something. The 10 of Swords is not a cute card. Can we just be real for a second? This is an uncomfortable card. It's an ending. It's a betrayal. It's feeling very backstabbed. It's feeling like you've worked so hard to get to a certain point and it all crashes down beneath you. But in my experience, the 10 of Swords also liberates you. And you can't see it right now, and you won't be able to see it for a while. And you're probably going to spend a good chunk of time feeling like, oh, if that would have just worked out, you know. But this is for your own good in the grand scheme of things. And Capricorn is about burdens and being attached to something and shutting yourself out and paying attention to external circumstances. And I feel like if you're in the midst of that right now, I feel like this week will show you a reveal or an ending that will, in the long run, be way healthier for you, way better for you, and will actually help you get to where you want to be at a breakneck pace. So that's all I have for you, Libra. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Okay, now moving on to Scorpio rising. So hello, Scorpio rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. And honestly, Scorpio, I feel like this week for you is kind of like, it doesn't feel as personal, or it feels like the energies are a little bit more free-flowing. It's just busy. Like, that's what it gives. This week just feels a little bit busy for you. And I say this because we have a full moon in Capricorn on the 10th, and we also see Uranus move into your 8th house. And the reason why I feel like this is busy is because this is a lot of movement energy. I have to say Uranus in the 8th house is a bit of an interesting energy because you as a Scorpio rising, you're very familiar with the inner workings of the 8th house. So with that Gemini energy, I feel like from here on out, there will be a lot of interesting revelations, especially because Uranus will trine Pluto in your 4th house. So when it comes to like the psychology of your household, your family, especially because Pluto is retrograde. So I feel like there's a lot of revision going on here. And with Mars and Virgo, I feel like a lot of Scorpio risings right now, your attention span and your attention to detail is like razor sharp right now, you know, like you can see right through everything. And I feel like Uranus in your 8th house is allowing you to come to some conclusions, or at least deal with what you're dealing with, but more so in an innovative way. And I feel like Scorpio risings are kind of gonna like that Uranus is finally out of your 7th house, because I feel like in the 7th house there has been a lot of shakeups and a lot of, you know, like unsettling vibes when it comes to your relationships and your marriages, how you relate to other people, period, but when it comes to your values and whatnot. And I feel like if Uranus out of there, it'll be easier to kind of like settle down in relationships and actually like connect with people. And I wouldn't be surprised if for a lot of Scorpio risings over the course of the next, and honestly all Scorpio placements over the course of the next few months, it might be that there's a little bit more peace and a little bit more serenity in your relationships. And obviously that's not to say say like, oh, like you're gonna get married or like you're gonna meet the partner of your dreams. But I do feel like this week is the beginning of sort of calming down from some turbulence when it comes to your connections. That's not to say it'll be like long lasting, because Uranus will retrograde back into this house later on to sort of shake things up one last time. And this will be in the spring of next year, like around like beginning of next year. But overall, I just kind of feel like Scorpio, this Uranus transit for you will present some shakeups when it comes to like your home and the financing of it as well, because of that 8th house and 4th house trine energy. So I'll just kind of keep an eye out for that. I think that you could start to especially see a lot of changes going on in the family because of 8th house themes. That's all I'm gonna say about that, because I feel like other than that, it could get a little bit deep and twisted. But the full moon in your 3rd house definitely shows some sort of a completion, like an educational pursuit or like learning something. And it seems to be related to like your health and your well-being. Like Saturn in the 6th ruling this lunation. I feel like it could be something about like responsibilities, getting things done, finally doing something that you've been meaning to do. Like this makes me think of like if you've been meaning to go to DMV, this is you doing that. If you've been meaning to like pay off a car, finance a car or something, especially with your 7th house ruler in the 8th house, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Scorpio risings right now. And honestly, like just being a Scorpio rising, like there's just probably a lot of movement when it comes to your finances, but especially right now, and as it relates to like digital themes and like, you know, technology, crypto, but also like online banking and, you know, moving money around through like Cash App, Zelle, stuff like that. So just anything like that. Those are pretty simple, generic themes, but it could become very abstract. And I also feel like this could be a consultation of some sort. I almost wonder if Scorpio risings are seeing a professional this week in something in order to get some kind of assistance. You know, I know a lot of Scorpio risings have been dealing with stuff with their health, and I've been saying that for literally like how long now, and y'all are like, girl, you be saying that every single week. But it's like, this week it will reach ahead and it will reach some kind of conclusion, you know, where it's like, oh, like we're gonna prescribe you this, or oh, we're gonna give you this, we're gonna give you that. And it's like, you no longer have to go to that doctor anymore, you change your doctor. But for others of you, this could also be reveals around language, learning new things, travels. We know with the Sun and Jupiter in your 9th house, a lot of you could be aiming to travel for a career matter, or maybe there's something about like websites and the internet and enterprises. And you know, mind you, the moon will start out in Sagittarius at the beginning of the weekend. It will come into an opposition with Venus. So if that not be the case with finances when it comes to the full moon, I definitely think that this week will start out with things revolving around your self-worth and how that manifests in your routine. I feel like this is definitely one of those weeks where you're starting to like sort out something with like your health and your routine, especially if you like do things of like working out, moving around. But this could also be something about like money and how that relates to work situations and labor, or maybe even something about like services. So if you provide a service or something, or if you do something for other people, this could be like the monetization of something like that. And maybe you're doing so to like this makes me think of like a freelancer and someone who like actually joins like a corporation. And I say this because we see stuff going on in your 9th house, you know, like the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter is in your 9th house, and then the moon's going to be in Sagittarius trining Saturn in your 6th house. So it's like, this is more structure, you know, like this makes me think of like opening up a website. This makes me think of like someone who is like a lawyer and they just like do their own thing, but then they actually like join into like a law firm. This could be someone who, it's like you do pedicures on the low, but then it's like you actually go to a place that hires people who do that kind of work, you know? So it's like you have a service, you have a skill, or it seems like you know how to do something, and I feel like you're trying to facilitate it this week, or you're trying to like learn the logistics of like opening up something or creating an opportunity for yourself through like a bigger system. Anyways, at the end of the week, we will see the moon move through Aquarius, and it will come into a conjunction with Pluto and also a trine with Uranus and Venus. So this will definitely kickstart this Uranus transit a little bit. And I feel like at the end of this week, a lot of you could be receiving a lot of changes and a lot of movement when it comes to like your home situation, but also when it comes to like your fears and when it comes to your deeper feelings. You know, like this is your roots, this is your emotions, this is your upbringing, this is your childhood. And a lot of this will be addressed over the weekend. So I feel like I want to say, Scorpio, the start of this week is definitely the best time to kind of get things done. The end of this week might feel very uncomfortable. I honestly don't really like this moon joining up with Pluto and then trining Uranus and Venus. Not to say this is bad or anything, but it's to say that it's something where it's like, you can't really just toe dip into it, you know. And you know, as a Scorpio rising, you're probably going to be good about diving headfirst into it. In fact, I feel like you'll have the easiest time dealing with the more uncomfortable energies this week. But it's just like, I do want to say, like, heads up, like there could be something coming up this weekend that maybe you forgot about, or it's like something that you're having to kind of like double back on and visit. And it could be related to a family member, like immediate family, especially like a woman, so like an aunt or a cousin or something. But overall, I just kind of feel like this weekend will be a little bit like emotional for you, and it will help you uproot something and come to a very brilliant conclusion. You know, I feel like there's definitely a lot of room for introspection this week, and it will be profound. And last thing I want to mention is that we have a lot of mercurial energy in the sky. Mars, the south node in Virgo, Venus and Uranus in Gemini. This Mars transit is very uncomfortable. I do not like this Mars and Virgo transit. I don't think any of us do, and if you do, I think you're lying. But anyways, a lot of it's Mercury energy, and Mercury is in the 10th house, and it is about to station retrograde. It's in shadow, and Saturn will station retrograde at the end of this week as well on the 13th. Neptune's already in retrograde. Pluto's been retrograde. So, oops, there's spit. But I definitely feel like this week for you and so on and so forth, there will be a lot of revision when it comes to your career, especially if like you own like a business or something, or if you just like work in sales. This could be about like the audience that you're trying to appeal to. This could be like the financing of your business. This could be something about like insurance and money. But for those of you who aren't into anything like that, this could also be something about just like doubling back on your career. You know, maybe a lot of you are trying to get back into a career full of people that you are familiar with. Like maybe there's something about the environment of your career that you're trying to like revise and get back on, or like change and like, you know, immerse yourself into a little bit differently. But it definitely seems like other people are influencing your career decisions right now in one way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be like people are telling you what to do and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that. It's more so like the environment that you're in, the people that you're around, and how you feel, and your deeper goals. And I feel like a lot of you are realizing like, oh, like I have this vision and my current circumstances with my career isn't allowing for it, so I want to switch things around and get back to that. Let's see what card comes out. I almost said career. For some reason this one's really sticking out, so let's take this one. For you, we have the High Priestess. What an enigmatic card for a reading like this. I definitely think trust your gut. This is the best way to go about it. The High Priestess sends you messages. It's metaphors. So a lot of you could be seeing angel numbers, and maybe a lot of you have been hearing even confirmations in today's horoscope. But I think the High Priestess is here to show you that you are navigating right now in a wavelength or a subconscious way that you don't really realize. And maybe because of this, you feel like disassociated from your physical reality, or feel like something's wrong about your physical reality, or you feel like something about what's going on in your 3D is not truly reflective of how you feel on the inside. But I feel like this week will kind of turn things, you know, like topsy-turvy, where you're able to introspect and look at your feelings at a more deeper, more meaningful perspective. And I feel like it'll be like very liberating for you, Scorpio. Like I feel like this way will really change your way of thinking and allow you to see things from a different perspective, and it will be really healthy and very engaging for you. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Scorpio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Capricorn rising. So hello, Capricorn rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th, and you have a pretty big week ahead of you, Capricorn. We have that full moon in your sign in Capricorn on the 10th, and we see Uranus also moving into your 6th house. And I know the full moon's like very important, but I want to talk about Uranus in the 6th house, Capricorn, because I'm finishing up Uranus in the 6th house, and let me just tell you, it is a ride. It is a lot of fun, but you as an earth-ruled person, you definitely want stability. So what I have to say about this Uranus transit is, like, take it from me, ride the waves and respect how you feel. When you want to do something, just do it. And the more you resist it, the more you'll try to like dance around it and like try to do something else. But like, you know what you want to do and you need to stick to that. I know that sounds very like a riddle, but I just want you to know, like, this Uranus in the 6th house, like, I feel like for a lot of you, there's a lot of energy unfolding when it comes to movement and how you organize your routine. And honestly, for you, it feels a little bit more high tech because it's in Gemini. And with the trine of Pluto in your second house, it might be that you are, and I want to say be careful because you don't want to rely too much on technology or tech or gadgets to run your life for you, because a lot of you could be dabbling into stuff like AI or like, like tech in general, or something that allows you to sort out your day-to-day responsibilities, like, and it will do so in like a easier way, like to simple, like you're getting help essentially. And Gemini is also like an assistant or like a personal assistant. That's what it makes me think of. But it also just makes me think of getting another person to assist you a lot. So it's like, this could be like siblings. This could be, like when parents like have kids and then like those kids are basically like their workers, it's like, that's what it gives, where I feel like a lot of you could be bringing some kind of structure to your life through the assistance of another person. So it's like, keep an eye out for that, because you don't want to rely on services or other people in order to like age your self-worth. Like when you roll up your sleeves and want to get stuff done, trust that it can get done, okay, Capricorn? Anyways, aside from that, we have this full moon happening in your first house, and it is low-key in a square with Saturn. So I feel like this is definitely related to your home and your relationships. But overall, I kind of just feel like this full moon is showing you like a completion, and I feel like it's showing, I feel like your relationships are heavily involved in like your home, because I feel like Capricorns have been dealing with that for so long now. But this could also be related to your roots, your family heritage, and how that kind of relates to your identity. After that Mars retrograde that we had in the winter, and the fact that we had that Capricorn new moon around the same time, I feel like whatever you're wrapping up around this full moon, Capricorn, is like very cathartic, or it's allowing you to release a burden. And I feel like you're gonna like that. I see this as like, maybe you've picked up a responsibility, or you've become something that you don't like, and maybe this full moon is finally a reveal for you, like, hey, like I need to release this, I need to get out of here, I need to stop doing this, or I need to start doing this. It's just something is being shown to you about yourself, and maybe you won't like what you see, maybe you'll love what you see, but whatever you see, it is showing you what you need to change, or what you need to sort of tweak in order to get to where you want to be when it comes to how you connect to other people, the people that you are around, and maybe even something about your career and maximizing your day-to-day life and your efficiency. Now, as the week is starting, we do see the moon moving through Sagittarius in your 12th house, which I feel like is a beautiful lead up to this full moon, because the moon will trine your chart ruler Saturn and Neptune. And mind you, Saturn's going to station retrograde at the end of this week on the 13th. So it's like, whatever this full moon and this Sagittarius transit is showing you, it's showing you something that's like, you need to work on, or something that you need to, like fix through. And I don't mean that in a way that's like, oh, like you need to work on this, like this needs to change. But it's more so in a way like, if you are anything like the Capricorn rising that I know, like there are obviously things that you want to change, and you have like an idea, and you have like a realistic approach to what needs to shift when it comes to your actions and how you express yourself in order to get the stuff that you want, or at least get things done and deal with stuff, especially because, like it just kind of seems like if anything happens, you're the first name that's kind of called. So I feel like some of you are trying to set up something to where people won't have to rely on you so much, especially if you kind of feel like you're not able to do the things that you're wanting to do, because it feels like there are people who are constantly counting on you, and because of that, it's like stifling your independency or ability to get stuff done. So I feel like there is definitely blind spots being revealed to you in the first chunk of the week, and I feel like it is being revealed to you through hidden conversations, psychology, or even like divination. And maybe some of you are like dabbling into like, like more taboo or like occult stuff in order to look into things and like understand like, oh, what's like going on. And for a select few of you, I wouldn't be surprised if you're studying the history of your family and the heritage. At the end of the week, the moon will be moving through Aquarius. It will conjunct Pluto, trine Uranus and Venus. So I definitely feel like at the end of this week, there's something going on with your money, especially if you offer a service, or Gemini makes me think of like courses. So if you like teach, or if there is something about like having to train people, or like, like learn from others or something, or like take classes to be qualified. I feel like there's definitely something going on here when it comes to like revolutionizing knowledge and allowing it to improve your self-worth and to put yourself through an experience that will essentially help you learn more. Like this literally, like second and sixth house trines with all this air energy, it literally makes me think of like being thrown into the pits to like learn something new. Like it makes me think of like someone who's like, it's their first day on the job and they get thrown on the floor and they have to work the hardest job there. It's very difficult and it's scary, but it gives you a good impression and it shows you what you're up against and it allows you to, you know, learn on the go. So I feel like a lot of you are taking some sort of approach this weekend where maybe you're diving headfirst into something to learn something new. And it could be a skill, it could be a management thing, but overall, Capricorn, I just kind of feel like over the course of this week, you're sort of letting go of one responsibility, and in doing so, you're opening up space and time to learn something else that you can better yourself with and to make yourself a little bit more prolific and efficient in some other area of your life that maybe you feel like you're not doing enough, or maybe there's just something that you're wanting to practice more, whether it be like oil painting or learning how to work all the machines at a new job. Do you see what I mean? And I want to say too, we have a lot of mercurial energy in the sky. And, you know, we have Mars, the South Node, Venus, Uranus, all in a Mercury ruled sign. Mercury is in shadow in your 8th house. So a lot of the stuff going on with like learning, knowledge, services, work, and obligations, day-to-day stuff, internships, learning something new, it's all taking like a very deep turn. Like the 8th house is very deep, you know? And I want to say, this could be like a very big question for y'all, or like this could be like a big like epiphany, you know, like Leo in the 8th house. It makes me think of like, are you doing certain things because you want to praise and you want to be recognized by a certain group of people? Are you doing something because you believe in it and like it? Or are you doing something specifically through the reaction of other people? You know, it's like, how authentic are you genuinely being when it comes to your pursuits? And how authentic are you being when it comes to what you offer to others, or what you're doing, or what you're trying to receive from others, you know? Like that's what Mercury retrograde in the 8th house is making me think of. I feel like a lot of you are getting very serious about your authenticity, and that's not to say that all of you are doing something for attention. It's just more so that I feel like maybe a lot of you have felt like you have strayed away from something, or strayed away from like a belief or an ideal when it comes to your life and your deeper emotional fabric and your roots. And I feel like a lot of you are feeling urges to change up your life through little things like Uranus in the 6th house. So like your day-to-day habits, how you show up for others, how you do work. And I feel like this could be a lot of you like wanting to break away, like start your own thing and do things at your own pace, or do things that you more so believe in. Anyways, let's shuffle the cards and see what comes out for you. This card stuck out to me. Yep. For you, we have the 10 of Pentacles. Ooh, Capricorn. I knew you were gonna like these energies. This is giving money. And I almost wonder if with like the energy in the 8th house, like if you're owed money, or if you're like been expecting some sort of like a payoff or a refund or some kind of like a windfall, I definitely feel like this week could be presenting that to you. But this could also be like an heirloom, inheriting something, you know, like something big in the family. This could be something about like grandma passing down like her solid gold necklace down to you. But this could also be something about like marriage, you know, like this could be something about connections with people. This could be something about your family coming to terms with something, but also business, enterprise, merit, and some kind of a financial opportunity coming through, or some sort of like a financial blessing coming through. Some sort of like recognition is definitely showing up for a lot of you. But that's all I have for you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye. All right, now moving on to Aquarius rising. So hello, Aquarius rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th. Honestly, Aquarius, I feel like this week for you will definitely be kind of like an energy that you've been wanting. And I feel like this will it will allow you to be a bit more bold, because we have a Uranus moving into your 5th house. Sorry, that was not the correct grammar. In Gemini, and we also see a full moon in Capricorn in your 12th house right on the 10th. And Uranus will move into Gemini literally right at the beginning of this week. So it's like on site, on the 7th. And I want to say, Aquarius, this full moon is a little bit uncomfortable. I have you say, I think that a full moon in the 12th house in Capricorn with the ruler in the 3rd house, this is like learning something very difficult. This is like a serious conversation. This is something about the way that you're thinking. This is something about your thought processes. I just feel like the 12th house is, you know, it's our blind spot. And when it comes to Capricorn, the blind spot is usually like shutting yourself out for the sake of others. And like in the 12th house, like this is like a very self-sacrificing energy. So it's like, how have you been shutting yourself out or others out for one or the other? You know, it's like, how have you shut yourself out in order to be there for others, and how have you shut others out in order to protect yourself or to stick to something very stubbornly? So I just feel like the energy here around this lunation is something about like your obligations and your responsibilities. And maybe I feel like for a lot of you, this could just be like interesting dreams. This is a very intangible full moon, by the way. So I feel like this will definitely appear to you in metaphor as very like vivid dreams or like difficult emotions or like conversations or pieces of information that especially trigger you. So it's like if you watch like videos of like people arguing and then you're like, oh, like this is whatever, but then like around this full moon it'll suddenly like hit a nerve and you're like, oh my gosh, like what's going on, like I don't like this, you know. So it's like things will definitely hit closer to home when it comes to this lunation, and it's showing you something very deeply personal when it comes to your freedom, when it comes to your early experiences in life, and also your knowledge, the knowledge you possess and what you're trying to learn in order to liberate yourself and blaze a new path with information, especially as it relates to like immediate relatives. But this Uranus transit in your 5th house, this is pretty fun. I think that Uranus in the 5th house is definitely an energy that's like fleeting. I think that with the trine to Pluto, this could definitely be like shocking conversations. Like this makes me think of like getting on like dating apps. That's just so like Uranus in the 5th house. But Uranus likes to experiment and likes to try new things. So it could be dating apps if you've never tried it before. But say like you're the kind of person who always uses dating apps, and like maybe this is you being like, oh, like what if I just like start going out and like meeting people in like weird places. So it's like a lot of you could be dabbling into something like that. But the 5th house is also about creativity. It's about fun, and Gemini is about writing. It's about learning new things. So I almost wonder if for a lot of you, this is like finding fun or enjoyment in abstract activities and ways of learning new things, you know, like watching YouTube videos, watching documentaries, or maybe even going out to like libraries or like shows and events that allow you to learn and allow you to garner information. And I feel like with Venus closely tied, Venus is the ruler of your 4th and your 9th, you could be doing so through like traveling. So maybe for a lot of you, you're seeking some sort of like novelty through like personal experiences. And I would imagine like this is like moving abroad for some of you, but for others of you, this could also be opportunities opening up to you through family members or extended family to travel or just to kind of discuss new ideas and concepts. But overall, I just like this transit for you, Aquarius, especially because Uranus will be trining your ascendant as opposed to squaring. So less shakeups and a lot less, you know, like rattling when it comes to the stability of your home and your family. And with the trine to Pluto, I kind of feel like a lot of you could be making a lot of major breakthroughs. Like, you know, 5th house makes me think of like performance. So it's like a lot of you could literally be trying to get on stage. A lot of you could just be trying to get in front of people, express your ideas, have conversations about them in front of others, and influence through your mind or with your mind. The moon will start out in Sagittarius at the beginning of this week, and the moon will be in your 11th house. It will oppose Venus. So I definitely feel like the beginning of the week is prefacing this full moon, and it seems to be related to your social circles, your goals, and how that sorts of relate to other people. You know, are you like, it's this vibe of like, oh, are these people as serious about their goals and ambitions as I am? And with Jupiter in your 6th house, it could be like maybe a lot of you are trying to be around people who are healthier for you. So maybe this is you being like, man, like all my friends do is like they want to go out, gamble, and like get drunk. And it's like that I don't want to do that anymore. Like I want to get serious about my health and my routine. I want to stay in. I want to take care of myself. I want to nourish my body and protect my energy. And if you're around people who don't want to do that, maybe this is you getting serious about it. And with the trine to Saturn and Neptune in your 3rd, like this is you setting a boundary, or this is you like having important conversations with people in order to set things straight, especially also with the trine to Mercury in your 7th house. And I feel like this will continue to escalate even after the full moon, because on the weekend / the end of this week, we see the moon move into your sign Aquarius, and it will come into conjunction with Pluto, trining Uranus and Venus in your 5th house. So I feel like this is you like having a very serious conversation, or saying something that's on your mind, expressing yourself, or just like having an intense encounter with like another person. Like, this doesn't even have to be like another person's involved and you're expressing yourself. This could also be like revolving around like the media that you're consuming. Like, the 5th house makes me think of like with Gemini, like movies that you watch, TV shows, books you read, libraries, the newspaper. So a lot of you could be consuming stuff like that, and it is revolutionizing your life in some way, shape, or form. I also want to mention that this week we see a lot of Mercurial energy, and we will continue to see a lot of Mercurial energy. And Mercury is in your 7th house in shadow. So Mercury is going to station retrograde not this week, but the week after. So I feel like for a lot of you, there could be something going on here with your relationships, the conversations that you're having in them. You know, like I see this as like, if you have been wanting to settle down, this is you being like, oh, like I want to find someone, you know, who like is real. But if this is you being like, oh, like I don't want commitment, I feel like this could be a lot of you kind of like shaking that off and like changing things up. But overall, I kind of feel like there's something going on here with like your interactions with other people and the conversations that you have with them, especially like a deeper, more like intimate matter, you know. So like if you've been like out here in the scenes, you know, like meeting people and like getting down with them, like this could definitely be like some sort of revision with that, and some sort of like let me change this, or like let me, you know, like do something about this, or like let me approach it differently. But for others of you, this could also be like, once again, like the way that you're learning, the way that you are interacting with others, and who you are choosing to be around. And I kind of just feel like overall, Aquarius, I feel like I sound like a broken record, where this week is basically just about your relationships and how you're communicating with others, the environment that you're in, and where you're placing yourself. And I feel like a lot of you are trying to change your external environment in order to better like support yourself on your inside and like your inner body, and when it comes to like your mind, your heart, your feelings, and how that sort of relates to your routine, you know, like no longer doing things that you feel uncomfortable with. And for a lot of you, possibly just trying to get more in tune with your physical existence, and trying to see how that can be bettered, or how that can be improved by experimenting with your environment and taking the risks necessary in order to make that happen. But with Venus kind of like low-key tangled up in the mix too, and Venus ruling your 4th and your 9th house, I feel like a lot of you could just be like dealing with things revolving around your family, your home, and your roots, and how they relate to like children. I feel like a lot of you could also be trying to like have kids. I want to say with Pluto trine Uranus in the 5th, be wary if you are out here in the scene, because this could definitely give like an unwanted like pregnancy, or like, you know, like being around like people constantly having kids. Like this doesn't even make me think like, oh, like you're not, like magically having kids. Like this makes me think of like being around people who have kids, and then you're like, oh gosh, like I have baby fever, or like, oh gosh, I really don't like kids. I don't know about this, y'all. But anyways, let's see what card comes out for you. This one is like jutting out. For you, we have the Devil. Ooh. Yeah, I definitely feel like this full moon in the 12th house is showing you something about yourself that's like not healthy, you know? Whether it be like struggling with addiction, whether it be like crutching yourself, whether it be shutting yourself out, shutting others out. You know, it's like there's an obsessive tendency with you right now, or there is a belief or something that you are shackling to yourself to that is not good for you or the people around you. And the Devil is profiting off of that. You know, it is benefiting off of you being shackled to something and believing that something has to be a certain way in order for you to feel liberated and to truly feel like yourself. And I feel like this full moon is showing you like what you need to stop in order to live the life and, you know, be comfortable in the ways that you want to be. So it's like, are you going to release yourself, or are you going to continue to feed into the bad habit that continues to cycle you down a darker path? Anyways, that's all I have for you, Aquarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye! Okay, now moving on to Pisces rising. So hello, Pisces rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for July 7th through July 13th.
Honestly, Pisces, I feel like this week for you will definitely present you a lot of movement. The energies are a little bit more free flowing for you, and I definitely see an improvement in Pisces right now, in the sense that it's not that things have gotten easier or harder. It's just that a lot of you have been organizing things a certain way to make things work for you better and to serve you in a more prolific manner. So it's just like, don't take it as like things are actually getting easier, or don't take it as things are getting harder. It's just more so of the way that you're managing your life right now. So take this into consideration. But this week we see a full moon in Capricorn on the 10th, and we also see Uranus move into your 4th house on the 7th. So it's like right on site. I definitely feel like you'll feel this Uranus transit a little bit more strongly, especially if you are 0 to like 3 degrees of Pisces rising. This will be definitely a lot of shakeups when it comes to your home, when it comes to your family, especially as it relates to a woman. For some of you, like maybe this could be like a sister moving out or something. But overall, I feel like Uranus in the 4th house definitely shakes up your family lineage and your heritage and roots. You know, this could be like as big as like you move out of your childhood home, or like your mom sells your childhood home. This could be like you lose a box of photos that you had ever since you were a kid, you know, stuff like that. It's just Uranus is very unpredictable by nature, and when it comes to the 4th house, this is a very personal house. It's the lowest point in the chart, and this is something about, you know, your deeper roots sort of being shaken up. And maybe even for a lot of you, you're becoming hyper aware of something that happened in your childhood that maybe you don't remember. So I definitely feel like the beginning of this week could definitely present you some kind of like a loophole, or it could like present you something that's been going on in your family, and it is either something that will be uncomfortable for you to see, but it will also be like, oh, like I didn't even know about that. And the full moon is happening in your 11th house, and the ruler is in your 2nd house, which is a huge question or a jab or like a reference to your morals. Sorry if you hear fireworks, especially if like when it comes to like your money. But I also think that this is just something about like your self-worth, you know, being around people who support you, being around people who encourage you to be more creative, to be more yourself, to be more expressive. And I feel like a lot of you are revising your social circles. I've low-key noticed that a lot of Pisces risings have gone through a lot of changes, just like Pisces placements in general over the past few years during that Saturn and Pisces transits, when it comes to like your friend groups and the people that you're around, or people who seem to share the same goals and ideas as you. And I kind of feel like this is like a sector of your life that you take very seriously. And I feel like with this full moon in your 11th house, like you're able to take gauge of something, and it's allowing you to be around people who truly do support you, or this is you allowing yourself to sort of get serious about your dreams and put a practical goal to them. Granted, this is a full moon, so it's like in a reveal, you know, it's like, oh, like this is what I'm working towards, you know, like the 11th house makes me think of like your ultimate goals, your dreams. And I feel like with a full moon here, this is you being like, oh, like, yeah, like this is what I need to work towards, like this is what I want to accomplish, this is what I want to achieve, like this is what I want. And with the Saturn in your 2nd house, is like, this is how I can do it, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like for a lot of Pisces risings, this full moon will show you a vision that you have, and maybe it's creatively related with the Sun and Jupiter in your 5th house. Like maybe this is like something about like your creativity, how you want to relate to people, your self-expression, and what you want to portray yourself as in order to attract the people that you are trying to be around. And the moon will start out in Sagittarius at the beginning of this week. And mind you, if you are between what, like the first 15 degrees of Pisces rising, you're going to be feeling this, because there will be some light grand mutable crosses forming in the beginning of the week for you, where there is going to be something going on in every single angular house. And it seems to be related to your career, your status, your ultimate goals. And I just kind of feel like the start of this week, there's something going on with like a career situation, especially when it comes to like the work and how it relates to your relationships and how it relates to like your home, you know. It's like, oh, like I've been working so much, how, you know, like my partner doesn't have enough, like I don't have enough time for my partner, and they're mad about that. Or, oh, I don't have enough time for my family, I don't have enough time to stay home and like actually enjoy my rent, you know. So it's just kind of like this week will definitely show you like how you can maximize yourself and how you can organize your time in a certain way. And I'll get into that in a second, but at the end of the week, we will see the moon move into Aquarius. I almost said Pluto. I've been saying moon into Pluto over these past few horoscopes. Oh my gosh. But the moon will move into Aquarius at the end of this week. and it will come into a conjunction, excuse me, by the way, a conjunction with Pluto and also trine Uranus and Venus, which will definitely kickstart something about this Uranus transit. And I honestly feel like this is like being revealed, like what you need to let go of when it comes to your family, when it comes to your bloodline, you know, like your ancestors. Like I feel like for a lot of you this could be like a past life occurrence. I almost wonder if you'll have like a conversation with a woman in the family that maybe you feel like you have past ties with. But for others of you, I definitely feel like this is also something about things with like your feelings and how you feel when you are alone. And Gemini and Aquarius just makes me think of like conversations. It makes me think of like surfing the internet. It makes me think of like Google search ups and being like, oh, like what does this mean? What does that mean? You know, there's like a very obsessively curious energy at the end of this week. And what I have to say about that is you don't want to know everything, Pisces, and you should allow information to come to you quite organically and allow yourself to stumble onto things naturally, because otherwise this week there could be a tendency to like overflow yourself with information, and it's like you're naturally like a sensitive person and you're very drained easily. So it's like I feel like the advice that I have for you this week is like allow things to come to you. Don't obsessively hunt things down, because you might end up with more things to process mentally and emotionally and spiritually than you're prepared to deal with. And not saying that you can't handle it, but it's just like no need to rush. Pace yourself. But what I also wanted to say is that we have a lot of Mercurial energy in the sky, and this is especially important for you because it's all aspecting your ascendant. We have Uranus, Venus, and Gemini, a Mercury ruled sign. We have Mars in the South Node in a Mercury ruled sign, Virgo. So Mercury is in your 6th house and it is in shadow. And mind you, Saturn will also station retrograde on the 13th, and Neptune's pretty much already retrograde at this point, and so is Pluto. So we're submerging ourselves into retrograde season. But Mercury's retrograde is especially important. And in your 6th house, I feel like a lot of you are, like I said, tweaking your routine and changing that sector of your life. And with the Mercury being in a sun-ruled sign and the sun being part of that full moon and in your 5th house, I feel like there's something going on here. Like maybe you're making time to enjoy yourself and to have fun and do things that you like, whether it just be like going out, shopping, going out to the casino, being with friends, staying in, baking, playing video games, whatever it might be that you just like really enjoy, doing your skincare. I feel like a lot of you are rearranging your schedule to make more time for that in some way. And I feel like a lot of you this week, it seems to be related to getting assistance or help from your relationships, maybe even changing up your home, changing up an office space, maybe optimizing your environment. This makes me think of someone who's like, oh, like let me go to the cafe to do my homework, or oh, let me go to school, or oh, let me change up my work environment, let me move my desk over here, let me do this, let me ask my partner for help, let me get a service, or let me get some sort of like a consultation where someone can help me do things that I don't want to do or not able to do during the day, like getting a babysitter, getting a dog sitter, getting a plant sitter, or whatever the case might be, you know. It's just like through the assistance of others and through reorganizing different areas of your life where you're constantly doing something, you're able to maximize your time and also to make more time for playtime and do things that you simply just enjoy. And I feel like a lot of you are taking pride in this. Like, I feel like a lot of you are trying to celebrate something or gain some sort of recognition for something that you are doing. And maybe a lot of you are just like trying to do a big favor for another person. Let's see what card comes out. This one, this one, this one. For you, we have the Death card. What a good card. I've not like literally, like death is a very uncomfortable card. I say that in the sense that I like this for you because I feel like, you know, like in your case, I feel like this is like letting go of something that is not serving you, something that is holding you back, something that is prohibiting you. And I feel like some of you are releasing something this week. I definitely feel like with the full moon and then with Saturn in your 2nd house, like you're letting go of a mindset or you're letting go of an experience. And I feel like ultimately, like you're feeling refreshed, you know, and I feel like this is a very literal, like, through endings comes new beginnings. And I feel like a lot of you are dropping something in order to make time for something that is more important to you. So it's like sacrifices are being made, but it's for the greater good. And I feel like this is like very cathartic and very liberating for you, Pisces. So I think you're gonna like this week might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I feel like the following weeks you'll feel exponentially more relieved and rejuvenated and motivated, but also inspired. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Pisces. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to catch you in next week's horoscope. Bye!